Sandra all the time is here with the cold hard truth. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. Tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama. Call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. They always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra. And
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth. Welcome to another episode with more truth-telling, more problem-solving, and of course, more tea spilling than ever before. Sit back, students, grab your tea and turn up the volume because class is now in session. Call in at 936-2626 because your voice matters. Share your opinion on issues that matter the most to you. Good morning, good morning, good morning, K-Man. How is everybody doing this beautiful, absolutely gorgeous Wednesday morning? Everybody's good? I see you, Irvelyn, front of the classroom today. She says, top of the morning to ya. All of the CMR massive. Good morning to Miss Jean. Good morning to Marshall. Who else we got in the house? Abby is here. Buenos dias, Abby. How you doing, honey child? Everybody's good? Instagram folks, y'all doing okay over there? I see you, Olivia. I see you, Connolly. Pet Care K-Man, nice to see you as well. Felicia in the house. Good morning, darling. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right. Wee Wee, how you doing, honey child? So nice to see you. Why is it that every morning somebody calls me and then it only rings once? It's so weird. Good morning, Barbara. Good morning, Janelle. I'm trying to figure out why that person always calls me every morning, but it only literally rings one time. Is that like my reminder to do something? It's a little bit confusing. If you could tell me why you call every morning, one time and hang up. Do you not have credit? Listen, it's toll free if you would flow. You don't need credit, honey child. Link up flow. Miss Barbara G is in the house. I see you. Good morning. Everybody else good? Yes, sir. All right. We're going to be talking about some political rallies, and we've got a really awesome interview lined up for you guys today. So please get ready for that. You're going to love it. I love these candidate features because I tell you what, there's oftentimes a lot that I just don't know about candidates. And so this is an opportunity for us to learn a bit more and, get to know who they are and the works. And I love it. I love these. I mean, I always learn so much about these candidates. So the candidate features are really designed, folks, to get to know them more on a personal level. It's not about the campaign as such, right? So have you ever wondered who really is Andre Ebanks? We did a fantastic interview with him. Oh my God, if you guys missed it, I'm going to tell you, you missed a real treat. Well, go online. It's still online. You can still go watch it. I found his story so fascinating and so interesting. And I also should say, in a weird kind of way, I found some parallels between his journey and mine. I didn't realize, he was born and, pretty much grew up in the States and moved back to Cayman as an adult. Now, of course, I was born in Cayman, spent the first 8 years here and then left and then came back. but some very, very interesting parallels for sure. Yeah. I like him. I mean, not for nothing, but he has a very, he's calm, cool, and collected in a way that I really, really like. But when he has to bring the fire, he'll find it in his belly now. Don't get it twisted. Intelligent, kind, straight shooter. The kind of traits that I think are important, especially in a leader. Not conceited. He's well educated, but not conceited with it. Not a dictator. He wants to be inclusive. Yeah. He's very likable. And I got to tell you, when you're a leader, that likability factor is extremely important. And I suppose that's why the majority of you, if you had the option to vote for Premier, according to the polls, and I mean all the polls, not just the CMR poll, but all the polls so far have indicated that you would select him as the next Premier of the Cayman Islands. Let's talk about the current Premier of the Cayman Islands, because wow, she's a hot mess and then some. Her constituency debate was last night. She did not show up. I'm trying to remember, and I stand to be corrected, but I don't think she's ever, and again, I stand to be corrected because the chamber has been doing it a long time, but I don't think she's ever actually participated in a chamber debate because she hasn't had to. Her constituency is so small and so tiny that apparently she only panders to them. She doesn't care what the rest of us think about her or anything else. So it is such an interesting situation that with 300 and odd votes, she could become premier of this country. The majority of us don't even like her. We don't want her as premier. God knows we don't even want her as education minister. Man, lately I've heard some horror stories about her, about the type of minister she is and how unprofessional she is. Like she'll show up late to events. She has no respect for the guests. Like if they have an event and it's a foreign guest speaker or any other guest speaker, she just doesn't care. She'll show up an hour late and say that people have to wait on her. And this attitude that is like typical of narcissists, quite frankly. People will spend a lot of time helping her with different projects and she'll completely discard them. If she's upset with you, she'll go on public stages. Not just me. I thought it was just me she didn't like. Well, apparently she's got a long list of people. And, she'll go and do things like, she's supposed to give remarks and speeches, whatever. And she'll just show up and be like, I was told to give remarks, and then go sit down. So petty. I'm like, where is the camera at times like this? Who is recording these? Because our people need to see her for who she is, in case some of you missed that memo. It is absolutely shocking. Oh my God. Child, let me take a sip of water and tea. I feel like I should be sipping both at the same time this morning. But let's sip that tea this morning, honey child. See what it says? Spill the tea. Hot. Caliente. Buenos dias. So that's the hot mess that we find ourselves in. And Cayman Brackers have a tough decision to make. I didn't watch, I'll be honest with you, I did not watch the debate last night. I couldn't even bring myself to watch it. Lord knows. But anywho, I heard that most of you were not all that impressed. Oh, I need to put up the poll. I'll get to that. I heard that you guys were not impressed at all. I was like, Lord Jesus, deliver us. Which I'm a little bit surprised at because I expected at least one person to impress you. And I was told, nope. That was the most lackluster one probably so far. I thought, really? What a hot mess. Anyway, Anybody here watched it? Did you guys watch it? I think it was the lowest numbers that we've had as well. So I don't think you guys are all that invested in Kim and Brad, but you should be. So she didn't show up, and Miss Maxine Moore also didn't show up. I don't know Miss Maxine Moore, but I do have a question, Miss Maxine. Why are you running? I don't understand it. It is bizarre. Why do you run? I mean, not for nothing, but I think after running all these times, you pretty much know. I think the Brackers have spoken, and you know you're not going to get elected. So why are you running again? You like donating $1,000 to the government? Hot mess. Yeah. Let me see if I can find some information. And what's her full name again? Maxine something more. Let me see if I can find her history. Maxine something. What's the rest of her name? It's a double barrel name. Good morning, Jean. She said, at least Trump's bad behavior in front and center for all to see and still vote for. I know. Well, apparently so is hers, but oh, McCoy. Maxine McCoy Moore of Cayman Brack has run for political office twice. Really? That's it? Nah, that can't be right. I feel like she's ran way more than that. She's only ran twice? That ain't right. That no. Last time she got 52 votes, which accounted for 14.17% of the total ballots. So she didn't actually lose her money. Wow. Moses Kirkernel in 2021 secured 85.83%. I feel like she's ran more times than that, though. I don't know. James Christian. Whoa, somebody just said he's clueless. I don't even know who he is. I mean, I know he called in here one day and said he was running, but I was like, okay. Ay. What a mess. This person says she and Julie are together. She is there to split the votes. Wow. This person says, I watched it. It was painful, to say the least. Dan Scott was a clear choice if a vote was to be cast last night, albeit I ain't no CINP fan. Yeah, a lot of people, I don't know. Tell me what it is about CINP, because a lot of people are not CINP fans. And I'm trying to pinpoint, I mean, I have my opinion, but I don't necessarily, oops, what happened to my camera? Child, let me fix that. Y'all looking at my blinds this morning. I mean, I have my opinion, I think, about why people are not feeling CINP, but can you guys tell me why you don't feel them? Because, of course, if I sit here and tell your opinion, then they blame me for the opinion of the general public. Go figure. Why? Write me, DM me. Why are you not feeling CINP? Anya says she actually ran in a different area last time also. But hasn't she ran like a couple, like, isn't this like the third or fourth time by now? I feel like it is, or is that just in my head? Good morning, Paul. So good to see you joining us from Bermuda. Big up yourself, Paul. Big up yourself. Anyway. This person says quitters and unqualified candidates. Well, they're the ones perpetrating the quitters stuff against TCCP. So unqualified candidates, now that's interesting, because they said that they were bringing the goods in terms of professional candidates. I think they kind of missed the mark with quite a few of their candidates, in fact. So there's a video that's going around. Have you guys seen this video about Heyman Rankin? Basically saying that he's being dishonest about his work experience. And I am going to have a look at this quite closely, because this person said, oh yeah, that's right. The other people are supposed to be the quitter. Obviously the quitters campaign has not, it's not really taken off well. you who've been perpetrating that, because they're aligning that with the CINP, which is so funny. Low key, that made me chuckle. They're like, oh yeah, wrong group. You see, those types of campaigns don't really make a difference. But anyway, I'm fact checking some stuff because I don't want to actually even give an opinion on Heyman's situation until after I've had a chance to look at it. So I'm going to look at him more closely. I'm going to look at Chris Saunders more closely. And, you know, quite a few of you need to step it up at any time. Oh, Abby, she's run 8 times? That's what I thought. I thought that. Child, this research, I got put the question back to this thing and said, yeah, that's why you always got to double check stuff. Because, honey, child. Yeah. Yeah, I do feel like she's ran a lot of times. 8 times. Oh my God. Since 1996, that's when I moved back to Cayman, and that's almost 30 years ago. That is wild. Thank you, Abby, for fact checking that for me. You guys are amazing with fact checking. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm actually fact checking some of the numbers and figures and things that Chris Saunders had to say, because, honey child, let me tell you something. He's not even low-key dishonest. He's outwardly dishonest, but he throws out these numbers and it sounds so good that the average person's like, oh my God, somebody kept saying, Anthony, was that you? Kept saying like he's Mr. Google, like he knows everything. I think he just throws some numbers out there that sound good, and the rest of us aren't fact checking it. So we're like, oh wow, he sounds intelligent. Well, sounding intelligent and being intelligent are actually 2 very, very different things. And so I think it's in our best interest to fact check what he said, because he has said very contradictory things as it relates to pensions. I think this is actually really, really important. And so I am talking to pension professionals before, again, I do an editorial piece on this, because I want to understand, you know, what the actual position is. I want to look at some numbers. I want to pull up my graphs. I want to do all of that. So before we get to that, before we get to the final product, those are some of the things that I have to do. And I think that that's important to fact check some of these guys, because they're getting out saying all sorts of stuff that just don't make no sense. All right. So did you guys see the video last night that we posted? Now, on Friday, as you guys know, Miss Marla came on. Phenomenal interview. I mean, I had such a great time. And you're well aware that my headspace I had to readjust my headspace before doing the interview, because someone the letter from my lawyers is actually ready, I think, today. So hopefully they'll be getting that today. They'll be served that. Tried to come at me with total lies and ridiculousness, defamatory statements, by the way. And I said, you know what? I'm going to really start to take some legal action in relation to this. So that's being dealt with. But I saw the messaging in relation to it like that morning. And on this show, you guys have seen, this is a live show. It's not scripted. I'm not here using a teleprompter. This is authentic, live, raw. That's why sometimes we have our moments, right? And you've seen before where I've come on the show and, I've broken down on the show, because what happens in situations like that, I think sometimes you guys don't know the backstory, is I just received that information before coming on air. And so as I get here and I start to talk, it's like in my head. And you guys know me, I'm a talker. And I'm also the type of person who needs to talk through her emotions. I could never marry somebody who like, oh, I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear you talking, because we'd be divorced by day number 2. Because if I got a problem with you, you and I, there's 2 options with me. We're either going to sit down and really hash it out. I need to express how I feel. Or if you see me go into silent mode, we're done. There's really no coming back from silent mode. And so I was in my head, you guys remember the day I was crying and everybody's like, oh my God, what happened to Sandy? Because it had literally I just gotten some information that morning, and I was in such a state of disbelief, right? So it was the same thing on Friday. But I had to put on my professional hat and I had to say, Sandy, set this foolishness aside, because ultimately that's what it is. Let your lawyers deal with McKeeva Bush. Set this aside, because I have been working so incredibly hard to get Miss Marla Dukaran on this show. You guys have no idea. For years, I've been trying to secure an interview with her. She's a hard person to get. And so I couldn't mess up, you know, when you're like in your professional career, you're at a moment. And I'm like, I can't, for the likes of McKeeva Bush, I'm going to let him get in my head and mess this up. I was like, no. So I said a few general comments about it. You guys didn't even know who I was talking about. And I just let it go. Okay. And I hyper focus on this interview. Like I said, I had tons of prepared questions for her. I didn't end up using any of them nonetheless, but whatever. You know, I had done my research, the whole 9 yards. And I said, just zone in and focus, because people will try to throw you off. So anyway, so yeah, so it was an amazing interview. I learned so much. I've had heads of government departments stop me and say, oh my God, I didn't know this. I didn't know that. People who had worked in tourism, who are no longer in tourism, but worked in tourism years ago, they're like, these are the data points that we need to focus on when it comes to this port issue. This woman educated us. Listen, we joke that this is a classroom. You know, we're in class, we learn. Say we're learning normally at the high school level. Child, she took it to the PhD level that day on Friday. We should have been walking out of there with a doctorate in cruise birthing. And there's still so much more that we didn't get to cover. It was phenomenal. And she also appreciated, this is Johan calling me. Hold on, Johan. I need to make sure that our audience can hear you. Let me just adjust yes, good morning, sir. You're live on air.
I can't find
hold
you
on. I still can't hear you. Why can't I hear you?
In this thing.
Oh, hold on. There we go. I can hear you now. Hello, good morning, Sir Johan.
Morning, Auntie Sandy. For those of us that watch you on the social media links, nothing's posted. I can't find you on your Facebook thing.
You see, Facebook, if you would listen to me, oh shoot, I was about to school him.
Take that.
Take
that. You're too bright. Thing.
Oh my gosh, I thought I sent out the links. Hold on, who did I send the links to this morning? No,
that way you're not as bright as you thought.
Oh, I sent it to, obviously you're not in Windsor Park, you're not in Washington Boulevard, or you're not in you're not in Caymanians in Florida group. My apologies, I did not send it in the main channel. All right.
I'll apologize.
Yeah, I said my apologies.
No, say Johan, I'm sorry.
Johan, I'm sorry. The teacher got it wrong today.
Brownies will make up for it. Bye.
You're too greedy. All right, hold on a second. Hold on, let me send it out. There we go, channel folks. Which means if Johan can't find it, give me a second here. That means that the Facebook is doing the weird thing again, where it's not posting it on the main page. So hold on. Let me do that now. Yes, sir. Poor Johan trying to find the link. He's like, where are you, Auntie? I can't see you. We still have over 400 people. So not for you finding it, but let me just make sure now, because we should have well over 600. I know y'all are here for it. All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to share the link on the main page. Facebook has been doing all kind of madness. So anyway, I was saying that I'll put live now. There you go. All right. So I was saying that, yes, that, you know, I had to redirect myself very, very quickly. And so have a look at this, because I want you guys to listen to what she said on the afternoon show. Now, I didn't even know. I gotta be honest with you. I booked her to come on, and I wasn't actually thinking that she was physically in Cayman. But you know our format. We don't care where in the world people are. We've had shows connecting with earthquake victims in Morocco. Like, this is, you know, we can take it to the next level with the platform that we use. But listen to what she said in the afternoon show, because I was driving and someone called me and they said, "Oh, Sandy, I was just listening to Radio Cayman's talk show, and someone asked Marla if this was the best show she had or something, but they didn't quite convey exactly how it happened. So I wanted to see it for myself. And here's her comments and what she had to say on Radio Cayman.
It is the tour operators, it is this industry of tour operators who are championing the loudest for this port, not against this port. They are saying we want the port. We need more of the numbers.
Okay.
And to their point, when they call in and they say, listen, we need this. This is our industry. This is our bread and butter. We're getting $47. It's not average. It's not a lot. So in order for us to make our ends meet, we need about 30% more cruise shippers to get more of those $47. To those, cause they call in and they say that. What do you say as an economist to that?
I would say,
yes,
like I said this morning on the Miss Sandra's show.
Oh, you were on our show this morning. How was it?
You see this glass, right? It was great. I had an amazing time.
Good.
And she has an amazing infrastructure where she can pull up charts and pull documents. I mean, it was, I felt like I was in the metaverse. It was fantastic. I enjoyed it. That was the best interview I've ever had ever.
Well, how are you going to come in the station?
Sorry.
How are you going to come in the
Sorry.
station? Hold on a second.
That's okay.
Hold on a second.
Sorry, guys.
Man, you got to give you credit for bravery. Bravery, I give you credit.
I call it as it is.
I
Okay?
see. You're like Miss
So we
Jam.
have this glass, right? And this glass can only hold so much water.
Yeah.
Do you want to fill this glass with people who you're going to get $47 from? Or you want to fill this glass with tourists that you can get $100 from? That's a no-brainer. You don't need to be an economist to tell you that answer.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Miss Marla. I mean, she said it on the program. So, she said that was the best interview that she's ever had. And I was like, what? Are you sure? That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that her hard work here is actually paying off, right? Especially since I worked so hard to get her on here. I was like, oh my God, the best interview she's ever had. Listen, this is a woman who is world renowned. She has built she does TED Talks and all sorts of amazing stuff. And she was like, this was the best interview. I bow in gratitude. I'm so honored that she said that. I don't think she's just trying to make me feel good. I ain't nobody to her, honey child. She's the big time economist. So thank you, Miss Marla. And I hope that that's the first of many appearances here on the program, because again, Isle 2025 says, I love her accent. So do I. I love that accent. So, we're trying to elevate people here. Listen, we give you a little bit of everything on the cold hard truth. So yes, last night I went to I went and checked out the TCCP rally. We got them here waiting in the studio, so we're going to bring them in. And it was kind of funny because I walked by one section of people sitting down. They were like, hey, honey child. And I was like, oh my God. And they're like, yes, Sandy, we love the 9:30 turn up time. And that's what they're here for that. They're like, that's when the real show starts. But we don't do that every day. We can't do that every day. And, it is a multifaceted show. But the goal is always, 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 always to elevate the program, right? It's important that as Caymanians that I elevate what I'm doing here. Every single year, you guys see, I try to introduce a little element of this, a little element of that. I'm constantly trying to educate myself and learn and bring new things on. By the way, thank you guys so much yesterday for listening to the youth parliamentarians, that interview. We're going to do more interview. We've got Elizabeth, who's going to be helping us with street interviews. I've just brought a guy on the back end who's going to be helping with video clips and video editing. Listen, there's a lot of moving parts here that you guys don't always see, but hopefully you do see the end product constantly going up and up and up, because that is what we want, right? And so to have her finally on the program and to acknowledge our hard work, because like I said, that interview, although I had prepared interview questions, I didn't even look at them. That wasn't scripted in any way. That was just a free-flowing interview. We started the discussion, and as she talked, I'm like, okay, I've got a question about this, and let's look at this. So that was all natural. None of that is scripted. None of that is like I'm sitting here reading line by line. So I appreciate her comments so very, very much. Good morning, Mr. Dewey. How you doing, honey Chell? You have a blessed day as well. Darlene says, Sandy, give yourself a kaboom. Thank you, honey child. I really, really do appreciate it. Diana says, you do an amazing job and definitely don't get enough credit. Aw, you guys are so sweet. Damaris from Queens, New York. Good morning, honey. So yes, Jasara says, she said CMR is the best. I appreciate that. That is just, I'm so honored. You know, I am humbled and I am just absolutely honored. So listen, we got to keep it going. Election time is here. Despite all of the to and the fro and people claiming, oh, Sandy prefers this party versus that party, I gave people the opportunity to get themselves organized and to come on the program. Trust me when I tell you, it is not my fault that some people have not been able to do that. They called me for meetings. I went to meetings. They exhausted me with the back and forth and the questions and the requests. And I'm just like, it shouldn't be this difficult, right? We got 500 people right here already, plus Radioland. If you want to reach the people, K-Man, it shouldn't be that difficult. They couldn't get it together. And now, conveniently, they want to blame me because other people have it together. And you're seeing their posts on social. You're seeing them coming on the show. They're talking about their events. Again, if Group A is more organized than Group B before the election, you know what that says to me? That says to me that Group B is probably not ready to run a country either. Because God knows if you can't run a campaign for a couple months, how on earth are you going to run $1 billion country? I'm just saying. Y'all think that the work has begun as a candidate? You have not even started if you get elected. You've got to manage your constituency offices. If you become a minister or parliamentary secretary, you got to manage those things. You've got to be organized. You've got to have meetings. Every one of them should be having. And some of them, even the people that I like, they have fallen down in this and I've spoken to them. You need to be having quarterly meetings with your people. Yeah. So they have a lot of work to do. And I admit that there are a lot of moving parts to the whole thing. So think about all of these things because April the 30th, let me tell you how many days you got left. Hold on. Let me go look at the CMR page because we have a little ticker on there, a little counter. We don't have much time left. I think it's like 30 something days. 34 days, 24 hours, 4 minutes and about 35 seconds. So get it together. All right. Strong Vote says, good morning, Auntie Sandy. Keep it real. Thank you, honey. Victor Lukloy says, is it true that when a cruise ship crosses the 12-mile limit, CIG gets paid upwards of $100,000? You mean when they come into our shore? I don't think that we get paid like that. I think we get paid per head. And you know, one of the questions I wanted to ask as well is that per head, that's who disembarks. Anyway, we're not going to get into the cruise discussion, but Dr. Lukloy, let me tell you something. I saw a video. Let me see if I can quickly find it. Hold on one second. This is a quick one. I saw a video that actually surprised me. Let me see here now. Oh gosh. I'm gonna look for this because I could not believe when I saw this. All right, I'm going to find it. But it was actually a video of a cruise ship dumping waste in the ocean. Apparently, I hadn't really thought about this, I guess. But how do they dispose of their waste? Oh my God, I was shocked at what I saw this cruise ship doing because I hadn't really thought about it. Wow, the amount of pollution and sewage that they're pouring into our oceans. Yikes, not for nothing. I mean, I want to take a cruise and now I'm like, oh my God, can my conscience even allow me to do that? I'm going to see if I can find it because that was nasty to watch. Whoa. Anyway, I think I downloaded it somewhere. I'll try to put my fingers on it. Someone said, oh, they can't dump like that anymore. So how do they dispose of their waste? So this person said, no, maybe that's a older video. All right, well, we're going to check it out because my God, well, they're not supposed to dump like that anymore. But remember, Carnival keeps getting fined for doing things they're not supposed to do, including polluting the oceans. And then they just pay the couple $1 million because apparently that's not a big deal to them. They dispose of it when they dock. Ugh. Anyway, all right. This person says TCCP needs to release their manifesto. I'm hearing people say that they're voting for Chris simply because they're not seeing any plan from TCCP or CINP. Well, we've got TCCP here. So thank you for that comment. And I'm going to show it to them because, my God, you can't vote for Chris just because TCCP has not released a manifesto. That we can't have that happening because you are voting for someone who, oh my God, you have no idea. My eyes have been opened even beyond what I thought I knew about him. And so I'm here to tell you that you'd be making a grave mistake on so many different levels if you did that. But I agree that we need to hear about this TCCP manifesto. So let's ask the leader of the TCCP straight up, where in the world is not Carmen Sandiego, but where in the world is that manifesto? Mr. Andre, good morning, sir. Tell me now, where is it?
Good morning, Sandra, and good morning to your entire listening public, Caymanians, residents, and Caymanians overseas. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Loud and clear. Yes, sir. So we've got this listener to the program who's like, where's the manifesto? There are people who claiming they're going to vote for Chris just because he's put out a manifesto.
Our manifesto is nearly done. As many of the listeners may know, we established under our party constitution a youth council. So just as when we were in drafting production thinking we could now have all the cosmetic changes and release this, we got some pretty insightful feedback from the youth that said, hang on a second, you've missed a few things that are important to us. So we're now adding those pieces of information and fleshing that out, and hopefully the manifesto will be done and dusted because I really want to release this ahead of the April.
Okay, all right. And of course, I know you want to get it out there in the best possible form that you can, because, you know, people will always criticize it no matter what you do. So you're trying to, I'm sure, make it perfect. But, you know, we get that nothing is perfect. And I like what Ralston says about a manifesto. And I think Alric has said the same thing. It's a living, breathing document. So it's subject to revisions and, you know, that sort of thing. So we totally understand that process, but yes, please get it out there for sure.
What I would add is that there's, just in case there's any thought of this, for us, it's nothing to do with waiting to see what everybody else drops. If we're ahead of other people, then so be it. It is what it is. Because as you say, it's a guiding document that you want the electorate to provide you with a mandate for. So as you say, it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect as long as we know that we feel that we're comfortable with it. We're not waiting for anybody else's timing. When we're done and we're comfortable with it, it goes out.
Very good. All right. So thank you to Anthony and Al Ray, who says, no, that video, no longer is the true position. Well, I hope not. Again, just up to a couple of years ago, I know that gray matter was being pumped into the ocean by Carnival because they were fined into the millions of dollars for it. So I don't know exactly what gray matter looks like, but I know one thing for sure. It's not healthy for the fish. And by extension, it's not healthy for us. Folks, we've got to care about our environment. Like every time I hear someone say, stop talking about the environment, you guys are over focused on the environment. You know, I just slapped myself on the forehead. It's not because I have a mosquito on my forehead. It is because the nonchalant attitude towards our environment is literally killing us. Microplastics are now being found in fish. And you know who eat fish? Human beings. It's being found in waters. It's being found in soil, like all over the place. And now it's actually being found in our genetic code already. My God, that did not take much. And microplastics is not something that is healthy for us. And once it's in our genetic code, it's going to be passed on to babies. And we're talking about, babies having more defects, congenital defects, and, people getting more cancers because of all this sort of thing. Folks, you cannot say to hell with the environment. It's the people that matter. Let's keep doing whatever we want, and the environment will come fourth, fifth, sixth, all the way down the line. Kathy Wilks is in the house as well. Good morning, Miss Kathy.
Morning. Good morning, Sandra. Good morning, Andre, and good morning to all of those who are viewing this morning.
Yes, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really good.
Awesome. Over 500 people on the live stream. I'm getting some of your comments. Thank you so much. Let me see here. Yes, this person says the parties need to get their manifestos out pronto. People have started voting already. Oh, yes, postal ballots. That's true. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate that. All right. So let's get into it with TCCP. They're here to tell us about some exciting stuff. So first of all, Mr. Andre, I did run to your rally, your Georgetown rally last night. Tell us the idea behind the rallies, because I noticed that you're having one for kind of each major area. So Georgetown had 4 people on stage, the Georgetown candidates. What's the idea behind the rallies? Because I like it.
I have to say, I didn't see you run. I saw you pleasurably walk and enjoy the festivities.
Yes, that is true.
So just a fact check there.
Yeah, you sound like Marlon there, because he always does stuff like that to me. Yes, I didn't technically run. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
But listen, I'm going to run when I see you on that pickleball court. So you watch and see.
As a quick aside, I had a constituent say to me, that's probably the one arena that you could beat Sandra and she can't beat you up on the show the next day.
Yes, touche.
So if I can beat you, because like I said,
I know, I was about to say,
you're deceptively quick.
Auntie could be waiting for him.
On to the question at hand. The purpose of the rally, and this sort of ties back to the manifesto, is, as you can hear from the speeches, the candidates know that the manifesto is in production. So what they've started to get out is, you heard policy positions that were articulated by each of the Georgetown candidates. And then they began to highlight specific issues in each of their individual constituencies. So the idea was, when you have a block, such as 4 GT candidates, get them all on the stage. Sometimes they're not able to make different speaking events. So okay, let's knock that on its head. Everybody show up. Also have some pretty interesting endorsers, if you noticed last night, of the people who's actually behind and supporting candidates, and then getting the people fired up. I must say, again, as I said at Pedro St. James, for a party that is 3 months old, to attract that level of attention, to me, is a blessing, and I am pleasantly surprised. To see that. I was actually the one running last night, because I had a gathering of voters in West Bay South and came within the speed limit as quickly as I could to Tropical Gardens. And to see the sea of teal as we were making the left-hand turn in, I was like, wow. The stage looked fantastic. The people were motivated. The speech content was great. Other TCCP candidates came in. So we saw the Bodden Town 4 were in effect. When I arrived, Kathy was there. So it was just overall a very uplifting and informative night.
Fantastic. Well, yes, I mean, I enjoyed last night. I did get to hear part of Miss Emily, and then I got to hear Natasha. Very, very impressed with Natasha. Loved it. And then I got to hear Auntie as well. So you guys are...
If I could chime in, I think you're absolutely spot on. And I didn't know you were going to say that about Natasha. I pulled her to the side before I was leaving, and I said, I can see you the ice is starting to melt. Obviously, Kathy and I have done this before, and I've said this many times on many programs. It is a grueling process. And I remember how I felt in 2021. I can see that she's warmed up and stretched now. You can see she was much more natural. Her positions began to flow. So I said, Natasha, I can see the ice is melting. You're getting into a groove.
Absolutely. I mean, I was, and for those of our listeners who may have missed it, I actually caught her entire contribution on video. So, now we can't live stream multiple events. Unfortunately, Facebook has been doing some stuff, but the chamber session had paused by then. So please go on the page. I will share the link here in the comment section in case some of you missed it. Please go on the page and have a look at Natasha's contributions, because she brought some fire in her belly last night, and you can really tell that her heart is in the right place, and she cares about her community. And I loved when she said that she might be small, but she is what? Come on, Kathy. I know you were there listening. What did she say?
I actually slipped out right when Natasha was finishing up, so I didn't hear what she said.
Andre, I'm going to see how close you were paying attention. Quiz time. She said, I might be small, but...
I thought she said she was mighty.
No, Talawa. Come on now. Yes, honey child. And she was talking, she shared a story. You guys got to go watch it. It's about 28 minutes, but she shared a story of how someone tried to break into her house. And apparently she was trained in like sword fighting or some kung fu thing. I was like, what? You go through, girl. But it was really, really enjoyable. So I got to see, and the thing I like about these sessions is you get to see the part of, parts of people's personality start to emerge and come out. And Kathy, I know the last election, you and I got to sit down and we did a one-on-one down in Barker's. And, there's so much that you get to learn about people in their journey and how they've gotten to where they are in their lives. And it was just absolutely amazing. So yeah, girl, go. I want to say congrats to anyone, I think, who put themselves forward, because I know it's an arduous task ahead. And some are more natural than others, but it takes practice, and you can get better with the practice that you put in. And
as you say, as folks watch it back, I think Sabrina covered national security, community safety. M was the environment. I think Auntie covered cost of living. And I think Natasha really honed in on education. So folks want to tune in to each of those. And even me, sometimes I go back and watch it, to your point, because I get caught in conversations and go back and give feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Kathy is one of the more senior women in the TCCP. How do you, help someone, say, for example, like Natasha? Do you feel it necessary even to give her a little bit of hand, give her some tips and so on as a newcomer into the party, especially women trying to have that collaboration?
Well, that's a good question, Sandra. And, I think just by you saying what was really displayed last night by Natasha speaks a lot about her competency. She is certainly a natural. I think a lot of our candidates, the new ones, really impressed me. I remember when I got on the stage the first time, I certainly didn't, or maybe I did, but I didn't feel as calm, cool, and collective as I see some of my colleagues. But as it relates to supporting each other as women, this group, the Cayman Community Party, I love the camaraderie between us women, and we lean in on each other and support each other. And it's really a great feeling to have found that support now that we have this party put together. But Natasha she's holding her own, man. She doesn't need any help.
Japanese sword fighting. Yes, honey child. I absolutely loved it.
And you can see there are contrasting styles. So Sabrina has a very strong, sort of robust speaking style. And then Auntie is just cool as the other side of the pillow. Just relaxed, cool. But he then seems in a remarkable way to get his point across. And seems to be able to then bear down when necessary to emphasize his points.
Yes.
I think that's because you can tell he's speaking from his heart as well, huh?
Yeah. And everybody's different in terms of their personality. So some people are naturally fiery, like myself. Y'all know how that goes, honey chill.
I hadn't noticed that.
Me either.
I know. And then other people are calm, cool. That's I was saying, Andre, before you came on, I like that you're calm, cool, and collected, because I think when you're leader of a political party, you probably don't want to be like me. You know what I'm saying? I got too much fire for that kind of thing. So being calm, cool, and collected is a good thing. So yeah, I think it takes all types and all personality types and people bring different skill sets to the team. And I think that's, equally important. The diversity that you have within a political team is very, very important. So I'm glad to see.
And we love the balance that we have, the gender balance that we have.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
it's not just women supporting women, which is very important, but also us as men supporting men
Yes.
and men supporting women.
Yes.
We love the balance. And
Yep.
among the 10 of us, you can see the differences in each of our personalities. And I think that provides a excellent complement to the group.
And am I correct in saying, I'm trying to think about it now, but am I correct in saying of the three parties, you guys have the most women represented?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so if we do a head count.
Yeah. Very good. Jasara says last night was amazing. Even to Emily spoke so well. So we need to hear more from Emily. She's kind of like very, very quiet. And a lot of people are asking, where is this Emily young lady? I don't know who she is. So hopefully we'll hear a bit more from her. But yes, I caught a snippet of her towards the tail end of what she was saying as well. And, you know, she does speak extremely well. So I think people are anxious to hear more of her. Debbie joining us all the way from Thailand. She's a Caymanian that has moved to Thailand now. Yes, honey child, she's going to try a thing over there. Debbie, I'm curious if you signed up for your, did you remember to do your ballot? Your, what do we call it? The
Postal ballot.
Postal.
ballot. Yeah. Hopefully you did that because you're still eligible to vote now. So Miss Erlene, good morning to you. Lavana's in the house. Lavana's out there cruising the high seas at the moment, but every morning on her anniversary vacation, she's checking in with us nonetheless. Good morning to Jonathan Adam as well, who's joining us here. Now, Damien has a question, I guess, and someone else made the point that they think that every party, this is APOC 447, says, I think it's important for every party to have a vision for the Cayman Islands in the future. We can fix all the problems, but where are we going as a country? Now, one of the things with that, Andre, is there's this really big question about when are we going to get this, you know, national development plan? Is your party committed and focused on doing that?
Correct. Absolutely. And our party has a vision for a modern, inclusive Cayman Islands where all Caymanians can thrive. But part of that is also not just a development plan with respect to building, but also a plan for the country of where we're headed. A vision for the country.
Yes.
So yes.
And we expect to see, you know, if your government is successful, we expect to actually see some work on that front as well.
A countrywide plan. The development plan is just a subset of that, but it's a countrywide plan of where we're going.
All right. Very, very good. Someone says Andre is just composed, but I think he can let his hair down when needed. Yes. So.
Well, I deliberately keep it low for low maintenance.
Yeah. All right. So someone has done the work for me. Thank you to our A students. You get an A and you get an A. Well, we're not giving out A's too easily around here, but this person gets an A. They came with the numbers and the names to verify everything for me. So give me one quick second. Let me just pull this up on screen. My poor computer doesn't move as fast as it used to anymore, folks. That's me overworking it. My gosh, my computer soon run to labor board and complain on me. All right, so here are the raw numbers, folks. CINP has 4 women. Miss Julie, Carmen, Dawn, and Jiva. PPM has 3, Perlina, Crystal, and Donna. TCCP has 5. So thank you so much to that listener to the program. One other question is, or comment, Damien says, when a government is formed, a planned manifesto should be signed like a contract and get done in 100 days or less. What do you say to people who expect, this is where I think now you have to manage expectations and need to give us a reality check. You can really get all your stuff done in your manifesto in 100 years or less?
Days, I think he said.
Days, 100 days.
Years for sure. But I think he said days, I believe.
Yeah, he said he did. Yeah, right. Did I say years? My apologies.
You said years.
Yeah.
So the manifesto is for a term, for the entire year cycle. So for us who've been there before, within the first 90 days, you'll then also have to now construct what the budget would be for 26, 27. because without the budget, then all of what you say may not even come to fruition. So one of the most important exercises is getting a handle on what's left in the budget, having a strategic policy statement, and then be able to construct the budget. But for the entire manifesto to be done in 100 days, I would not think that would be practical. What you would be aiming for the manifesto, which in the case of my manifesto in 2021 as an individual or independent candidate, was for the entire term, because many things that you will want to achieve will involve legislative change, policy change. As I mentioned, the budget already could involve the moving of the ministries, depending on how you get in and how they're constructed. So the first 90 days has a lot of work in terms of preparation to then be able to galvanize and harness what you want to do, to then be able to complete as much as you can in the manifesto.
Right. So just a quick correction. Apparently somebody forgot Delmira is also with the PPM. So yes, thank you for that. We forgot one person. Oops.
Although on that question, I was fairly certain of our number of amount of women over. What I was also going to say is, even if someone had the same amount, what I'm also pleased at is the actual balance of 5 and 5.
All
So
right.
I was pretty confident that we had the strongest gender balance collectively as a team.
Aisle 2025 says, is there a plan if some TCCP candidates don't get in? And are there any independent candidates that they would invite into the party?
So I've addressed this because I have my own constituents, and I'm sure Kathy's getting this question as well. As you said, the first and foremost, having 10 is to form the government. That's party objective number 1. In the event that does happen, what we're doing as a party is watching each of the debates. And as we get through debate season and as we get through manifestos dropping, we'll then be able to analyze who we best align with in the event that you would have to say, okay, if we don't all make it in that eventuality, then who do you best align with from a broad policy perspective rather than just a horse trade?
Yes. Very good. I mean, I think that's definitely the way to do it. Priscilla says 100 days is not workable. Come on. So I think that's right. 100 days is just a couple months. We've got some pretty major issues facing us, Damien. You can't fix those issues in a couple months. And as Andre correctly said, what you need to be looking at is the position as they go in, because there might be some things that are urgent and require immediate attention, but then you have to think about what's the budget. Because if you just had Miss Julie commit another $1 million to the BRAC and, another $1 million to a church, and they might find that the little piggy bank is going to be low. So then they have to wait until maybe some funds become available in the next fiscal year, or they re-examine what had been borrowed and what their commitments are, and if there's any projects that can be reassessed. Give them
to give a real example, and heaven forbid this shouldn't happen again because it was so rare. But let's take when we took office in 2021.
Right.
All of us then, as the PAC government coming in, thought that there might be some semblance of a plan to reopen the country, because remember, we were still in COVID lockdown. So each of us were all very energized, wanted to do certain things. The question of what you do in 90 days had come up on that campaign trail as well. But then you get there and there isn't a reopening plan. It's not a reopening plan. So that had to take priority, because everyone had constituents and residents saying, what is the plan?
Right.
So you have to pause what you might have thought that you might have been your short to medium term goals to now assess the most pressing thing in front of the country is what's the reopening plan? And that took hours and hours and days of toil.
Yes. And let's not also forget, a lot of people, Damien, I saw you kind of in one of the debates, you got this point wrong when TCCP, I can't remember which debate it was, but one of their members was on, it might've been with Wayne Panton. And you were saying, the PAC government, who Wayne Panton was head of, gave themselves a pay raise multiple times during his tenure. And that's actually not what happened at all. In fact, I had to remind you that what happened was the previous government had committed them to certain things, but hadn't put it in the budget, which was very, very interesting for the progressives to do that. So they already had proved the new package, which included the 3-month severance and a pay increase for the MPs and whatever, and they hadn't budgeted for it. So then all of a sudden, correct me if I'm wrong, Andre, but I do remember you guys having to do some kind of interim budget where you had to try to find the money to deliver on these things that the PPM had already signed, sealed, and they just didn't have the budget for it.
And I remember that example because I had messages from constituents saying like, how could you give yourself a pay raise? But it was already there. So we sort of walked into it.
Right.
So yes, you don't know what you'll find when you take the government, and you just don't know what you may either have to compose or fix. So 100 days to get the entire manifesto done, and that is just not feasible.
Yeah. And, I think it's important to at least be honest with people, because I think a lot of our politicians, unfortunately, are not particularly honest with the public. And when they're not honest with the public, they overpromise and then underdeliver. And that is when people get upset with you, is when you underdeliver on things that you promise. So Damien, hopefully you have adjusted or readjusted your expectations, and then we can take it from there. So I'm just going to restart for Instagram listeners. I'm going to restart your feed because every hour now I have to do that. So let me just get our IG folks back on. Just going to re-add a little link here and we'll be good to go with them. So some very good questions. We were talking about the rally last night for Georgetown. There is one that's coming up for West Bay that we're going to get all the details on now. So Andre, let's go ahead and pump up your West Bay folks and tell us a bit about the upcoming rally for West Bay as well.
I feel like I've been dominating the conversation, so I'm going to yield to my colleague for West Bay Central.
Yes. So tell us all the details of the rally.
So the rally in West Bay is going to be very similar to the one that was hosted last night in Georgetown. Our approach has been to sort of promote a family-friendly environment. So Sandra, as you saw last night, we had an area for children. Many people want to attend a lot of the political events, and it's always nice to have a little area for the children to be able to play and give you an opportunity to really listen. So it's going to be very similar to the layout of last night. Andre and myself will speak, as well as there will be some endorsements and just some good entertainment to get everybody geared up and excited about the Caymanian Community Party and what we have to offer.
Yep, absolutely. They had a bouncing castle. There was even popcorn and a little food station, and lots to keep the kids occupied in a safe area, and everybody was there, obviously looking out for them as well. So
it's become a bit of a TCCP trademark to make it a family affair.
Yeah, I like that. I saw that with your launch. So I took my daughter to work because, I'm a working mom. So sometimes you got to drag the kids along. And, Andre, at the end of the night, she didn't want to leave. It was past her bedtime and Dad was calling. Do I need to come pick her up? Are you still working? And I said, honey, child, I'm leaving shortly. But she didn't want to leave. She found her cousin's daughter around her age. They were dancing to the music and having such a good time. She didn't want to go. She got her cupcake fix, which she was happy about. She got to do some finger painting. I mean, I think she thought it was a party for her. I mean, I didn't want to disappoint her, All right, we do have a call.
I didn't actually think about putting it that way, that's the draw to keep the adults there.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
We've got a caller in the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I just want to say that regarding the referendum questions, I am voting no on all of them.
Okay.
I don't support any of them, specifically in regards to legalizing small amounts of marijuana. I believe that would set, a bad example for our youth. I believe it was the National Drug Council recently came out with a survey that showed, I believe it was alcohol they were specifically speaking about, but it was happening with our young people as young as 11. And I don't agree with that. I think that would, if we look in our communities, there's a lot of substance abuse happening. It happens right in the homes, and I just want to know what would TCCP do to try to clean up the communities from the substance abuse that happening in the homes, in front of kids, and even in the high school with vaping and vaping and drug use and stuff like that.
Okay.
Because my son attends John Gray, and he always say, "Mom, if you see the amount of kids that have cigarettes, have vape, have all sorts of stuff, I just kind of want to know what their approach would be to that."
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for the question, which is an important one in terms of the amount of not just what's legal, but also illegal. I think all of these issues are interlinked. The border, for example, if you're listening to law enforcement, is porous. So too much is coming in. We need to strengthen border control, and there are very good cost-effective measures in terms of drone security that will feature in the manifesto to actually tighten the borders for products that are coming in. In addition to that, we also need to have stronger enforcement when it occurs. What that referendum question is about is whether or not, if you are enforced upon, are caught, should the small amount stay on your record? From the debate on the referendum bill, you would have heard the TCCP candidates feel that it wasn't necessary for a referendum, because I think that's a policy change that the country could come to grips with. That if someone has made a mistake, should it remain on their record for their life that impacts their prospects for employment when they may have turned a corner? So I think all that was required is to study other jurisdictions, come to a policy decision or view of what is meant by small quantities to decriminalize, so that it's not hanging over someone's head for all time. Be that as it may, it is now a referendum question, and I think there's a good body of research that in the event that the answer is favorable to decriminalizing small amounts of marijuana, you still will need to do the policy research to determine what that amount is and what the appropriate, say, fine is, say if it's sort of a speeding ticket, because I think most in the community would agree that people should have a second chance and should not be impacted for their life to be able to earn a living.
All right.
I also want to just add quickly that I think with what the caller just highlighted confirms our concerns that were raised. We initially discussed the referendum, in that it has not been a national educational campaign on any of these topics. So everybody is wondering what these questions will affect in one way or the other.
Very good point. We've got another caller, and I'm mindful of the time today because we do have a candidate focus interview with Ms. Julie Hunter that we are going to put on this morning as well. So this will be the last call before we swap over to that. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra. Good morning to your panel.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Andre, I appreciate that you did make that differentiation. I would appreciate it if, the question as it pertains to decriminalization, if the public were to be educated on the realities as it exists for any talk of legalization in Cayman, because the
talk isn't about legalization.
It's not even doable, as has been evidenced by what happened in Bermuda, where they had a referendum, they chose legalization, and it was reversed by the Crown. I wish that people here in Cayman, similar to this idea that people in Cayman have, that the people-initiated referendum was a done deal. I just, it boggles my mind how people generalists seem to be so out of touch with these realities and the parameters they're in. Now, that brings me to this question, Andre and Ms. Kathy. As it pertains to the lack of because my opinion is that this referendum is a scam. It is not something that the Cayman Islands electorate deserves, in that we do not have a solid referendum law. My question to you guys is, in the interest of the will of the Caymanian electorate being respected and observed for what it is, will you guys within the CCP, will you work towards improving upon our referendum law in a way that exhibits our respect for the electorate and the will of the electorate, themselves and ourselves? Because I don't know what your guys' opinion is on this, but my humble yet vociferous opinion on what the UPM has done in this referendum, regardless of the question, is a scam. It's a fraudulent, it is not a valid referendum, because they or anybody coming after will not be dictated to respect the will of the electorate the way it should be. So that's my question to you guys, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
And y'all have a good day.
All right, Jonathan, thanks very much. So the question is in relation to actually putting in place a proper referendum law, which all these years, believe it or not, we have not had in place.
So 2 points. One, the caller may recall in my contribution on this referendum bill with these 3 questions that I referred to at least one of the questions as a smokescreen, because as we saw it, a number of these things could occur by way of government policy and planning without a referendum. So in the case of what we just talked about, the small quantities, that's just research, a policy change, and a legislative amendment. But since the government has gone down the route of just throwing out 3 questions, some of which lack lots of detail to make an informed decision, I thought that was, as the caller rightly pointed out, a bad precedent to set. Because if you're the government and you're putting out a question, I would think the government should advocate for a position with the supporting evidence to back it up as to why the question has been put in a particular way, and lead the electorate in the direction you believe you should be going. Now, people might still disagree, but they'd at least be able to make an informed choice.
Right.
But what I do think is still intact is the people's initiated referendum, which would then be binding. So the question, I guess, that the caller is raising is whether or not there needs to be some enhancement to the process of a government-initiated referendum. And that's a point worth taking under advisement.
Yes, because to this listener's point, they say, there's ways for a person to have their record expunged. Secondly, what would be the results of decriminalization and what has it been in other communities, and how many persons are currently impacted by having weed on their record? And we don't know that. No one has given us an actual number. It's all been, fodder. Like, okay, we think it's a lot of people. And I can tell you, as someone who sits in the court system, that actually isn't the case from the perspective that the courts themselves, the magistrates themselves, for small quantities are like, okay, it's still illegal in this jurisdiction. So please remember that. I've sat there and heard chief magistrates say, young man, do you have a problem, taking his word for it, do you have a problem with marijuana? Because that's what you're here for. And if they say no, she said, okay, well, for the next couple months, I'm going to have you drug tested. If he said yes, he had a problem, she would obviously have put him in some sort of a program. But if she feels like, okay, he's just occasional user or whatever, and he's not addicted to it, nothing gets placed on their record as long as they do the things that the court says. So you have to get regularly drug tested, don't commit any other offenses for the next couple of months or whatever. And they get nothing recorded. I've seen it time and time again. Like, I sit there all the time. So I know the real realities is nobody's going to jail for a spliff of marijuana. And yet I still see, even in today's comment section, we are, criminalizing and incarcerating young Caymanians for one little spliff. That is not happening, folks. In the real world, That's not happening. And all you have to do is go and sit down for one day at criminal court, and you'll see that that's not the case at all. So I'm going to have to ask our guests to leave us there. Again, they've got their rally coming up. That's this Saturday, the 29th of March at 7 p.m. at the West Bay Heritage Park. So coming out, another family-friendly event. And this is the West Bay District Rally with none other than TCCP leader, Mr. Andre Ebanks, and Katherine Ebanks-Wilks. Both of them will be taking the stage, and there'll be lots of activities there for the entire family. And Andre, kudos. I even saw a few dogs out last night. I thought that was so awesome.
Okay. So before you drop us.
Yes, sir.
Could we have a few closing remarks?
Absolutely.
Kathy, I'll defer to you. You give a shout out to West Bay Central and galvanize them for Saturday night.
Thank you. Thank you again, Sandra. I'll hurry. I know you're getting ready to bring someone else on. Just want to thank everyone for tuning in this morning. Again, want to encourage all of the residents of West Bay, especially my constituents in West Bay Central, to attend our rally on Saturday evening. I know that we have the Capella concert, which is also that evening, but we do plan to have an early start and finish in enough time for those who want to get out to catch the main acts. They'll still have time to do that, but certainly looking forward to sharing a bit more about our national priorities and plans and how we intend to, improve the lives of the Caymanian people. And then also, before I hop off, just want to remind everyone that the Chamber debate for West Bay Central or the Chamber Candidate Forum is tomorrow night, which I will be participating in, encouraging everyone to tune in.
Very good. Tomorrow night. All right. Sounds good. Mr. Andre?
That's a very good point. Thanks for reminding me about that, Kathy. Just to make a small plug, I think I have, as party leader, been overwhelmed by the performance in the debate so far by all the team members that have gone. I think they've all performed reasonably well. If you look out throughout the debates, I think they have held their own, and in some have exceeded expectations. So thank you very much. Sorry to put that pressure on Kathy for you for tomorrow night. I'll also then mention, because now you've reminded me, Kathy, I think there's a Radio Cayman debate that's supposed to feature West Bay South. I had given my apologies to Radio Cayman because they had made the week before we had all committed, they made a shift change, a date change from the 25th to the 26th, and my schedule just wasn't able to accommodate that. So I look forward to my debate, which is unfortunately on April Fool's Day, but it's 4 business days after what's scheduled for tonight. So I look forward to engaging in that debate then. And in the meantime, thank you so much for having us. We invite everybody out, West Bayers in particular, Heritage Park, 7 p.m. this Saturday coming. Come out. We in West Bay do as best as we can to start on time. Our committees are always chasing us to start on time. And we figure that in a lot of the headline acts for Capella will happen later in the evening, so we can get you out if you're still interested in that, or we'll still hang along and mingle with you in Heritage Square for those who are not going to Heritage Park for those of you who are not going to Capella. But thank you so much. Come on out, show your love, and just keep the TCCP train going all the way to 30 April and beyond. God bless.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a beautiful day. So we do have one of our listeners here in the program reminding me that they're asking how organized is Radio Cayman, because they say, wow, another last minute schedule change. Didn't they do the exact same thing to Kathy? So unfortunately, Kathy had tendered her apologies to Radio Cayman, but during the debate, they neglected to share that with their listeners, which I think is quite unfortunate, and I don't know if that was deliberate or not, but she had already committed to a youth parliament event, not youth parliament, my apologies, TCCP youth arm, the youth arm of their party event. And so, yes, I mean, I know that Radio Cayman seems to be struggling with their debate schedule. They have rescheduled stuff. At one point I saw where they canceled debate days. I don't even know why they're trying to compete, I'll be honest with you, with the chamber, who's been doing it for donkey years now. But, you know, she was willing to do it if they had rescheduled it for her, and they said no. So now they've changed it, I think, twice on Mr. Andre, and he can't accommodate the second change. So, you know, it is what it is. And I hope that they actually announce this time properly that he has tendered his resignation, as opposed to leaving it open for people to speculate about why he's not there. You know, Radio Cayman, if you want to play with the big boys and you want to do the whole debate thing, that's fine, but you have got to make sure that you are properly organized, because at this particular point in time, it is crunch time for the candidates, as you can appreciate. And so what that means is, you know, they've already got meetings scheduled, they've got appointments scheduled, they have a lot going on. And if you cannot get your scheduling right over at Radio Cayman for these last minute debates, which really were last minute, you can't expect that the candidates are going to be able to participate. And if you change it once and they change around their schedules and they accommodate it, then, you know, you can't be changing it again. So Roar says with their 5 views, they'll be okay. Why not mention it that she had another commitment? Yeah, it's a bit shady if you ask me. Anthony says they're struggling because they took sponsorship money from Subway and can't get the candidates in the studio. Yeah, well, they can't get the candidates in the studio because they're not organized. And also, there was a lot of disappointment, quite frankly, around how they were moderating the events, and people were not particularly happy with that. So Radio Cayman, lesson for you: you can be the longest and oldest radio station, but you still have to organize yourselves, because nobody likes disorganization. Roar says, I'm disappointed in them, really, but you can't keep a good woman down. Gabby, I'm just waiting on their video to finish rendering here, says they need to have public debate and where we can ask questions. So, you know, I guess they can't do all the debates, and, you know, you can ask questions because you could have sent in your questions to, and you can still send them in to the chamber for them to ask. The I says, leave Radio Cayman alone. They're not concerned about you, drama queen. Seems to me they are concerned. Shall we play that video for the I, who apparently just joined us? The I, you want to see how concerned they are? Let's see what they had to say. Hold on a second, the I, since you like to show up to class late, which with such a bigoted opinion. Listen carefully to what Ray Singh had to say in his own words.
It is the tour operators, it is this industry of tour operators who are championing the loudest for this port, not against this port. They are saying we want the port. We need more of the numbers.
Okay.
And so to their point, when they call in and they say, listen, we need this. This is our industry. This is our bread and butter. We're getting $47. It's not average. It's not a lot. So in order for us to make our ends meet, we need about 30% more cruise shippers to get more of those $47. To those, they call in and they say that. What do you say as an economist to that?
I would say,
yes,
like I said this morning on the Miss Sandra's show.
Oh, you were on our show this morning. How was it?
You see this glass? It was great. I had an amazing time.
Good.
And she has an amazing infrastructure where she can pull up charts and pull documents. I felt like I was in the metaverse. It was fantastic. I enjoyed it. That was the best interview I've ever had ever.
Well, how are you going to come in the station?
Sorry.
How are you going to come in the station?
That's okay. That's okay.
All right, the eye of the tiger, honey chill. There you go. They said, somebody said, obviously they're concerned about you. This one says, Radio Cayman not ready. Them is a joke. Next person says, why can't Radio Cayman do their debates in the day so as not to conflict with the chamber ones in the evenings? It's a very, very good question, and only God knows. This other person makes the point that voters can ask questions at each and every yard meeting and each and every district meeting. So, yes. Another person says, good morning. I'm a few minutes late. are you talking about Miss Maxine? She's ran every year since 1988, to the best of my memory. They go on to say, shh, please remember, Sterling Dwayne is a former co-worker at Radio Cayman, and I don't think that the male hosts like TCCP too much. Oh, what a hot mess. All right. This other person says, all that money allocated to Radio Cayman and you're running circles around them in your spare bedroom. Technically, it's not a bedroom. It's an office space. But yes, point taken. Where is Elon Musk when you need him? Lord Jesus. They're like, where is he when you need him? We need to clean up this place. Lord have mercy. And that's public funds, by the way. That's our money. All right. Let me find Miss Julie's interview. Where did that go now? Hold on. Ooh, honey child. Let me see. Where is it? Yes, Miss Julie Hunter. We had a fantastic interview with her on Sunday. Get to know your candidates, folks. We are going to them. You see, all those people who didn't want to come and see Amara, they're missing out on all the beautiful stuff, all the little extras. So we went into her house, sat down at her kitchen table, and had an amazing time. Listen, this woman has done a lot in this community. Someone said what she did when she was at CNB. She was a supervisor. She uplifted other Caymanians, cross-trained them in departments so that they had the skill set to get promoted. Sit back, folks, get your second cup of Milo, your second cup of tea, and see what Miss Julie Hunter is all about. All right, folks, we're here in the kitchen with Miss Julie Hunter. Good morning, Miss Julie. I should say afternoon proper. How are you?
I'm very good.
Yes, well, I understand this is your favorite spot to be.
This is my favorite spot.
So tell us, what are you making today?
I'm making banana bread. That's one of my specialties. And anybody that knows me well know that I am a banana bread person, and I've made hundreds and hundreds in my lifetime.
Yes.
So this is a very special, it's not even a chore anymore. It's so much fun. But I was going to say that it brings back a lot of memories for me and my children.
Yes.
Because they grew up on banana bread. They grew up doing all their summer trips with me baking and then packing and then we delivering.
Yeah.
So we did that for a lot of our life.
Yes.
You know, to make money for them to do their summer trips, and that was way of me teaching my children responsibility. And to this day, they say, "Mommy, we'll never forget you standing by the door and saying, Clint, put that bag down. You got work to do. Tasha, get those lists ready, get those bags ready." So those are the kind of things that you look back on with your kids, and you realize, you did a lot of things right.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna take a little trip down memory lane while you're baking. So we are going to be watching her, and this is going to be so much fun. But let's talk a little bit. You're on the campaign trail now for West Bay West, and you've talked about how you've grown up in West Bay, and in particular this area of West Bay West, your entire life. So tell us exactly, where was your family home? Where were you? Were you born in the family home back in those days, or?
No, actually, I was born in
the Georgetown Hospital.
Yeah. Well, okay. My brother Charles was actually born in West Bay with the famous Miss Leela.
Yes.
The mid wife of those days. But I was actually born in the hospital.
Okay.
But I don't know if you know where, as the road you turn to go to Watercourse Road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my house is the first house after Watercourse Road. So that upstairs house was where I was raised.
That's where you were raised.
Yeah. Now, right on the Turtle Farm Road.
Yes. Now tell us a little bit about what your childhood was like. What are some of your fond childhood memories?
Well, I grew up in the 60s and 70s where, there was no television, there was no phones, it's nothing like that. So the main thing we did for entertainment, and I'll never forget my childhood. I'm so happy that I grew up in those years when, the things that we did was go on the Iron Shore. We used to call it Cyrus Cove or Athlin's Cove. We would go and hang out there as children and play and bathe in the sea. We used to call it, we go and bathe in the sea. And then, of course, on a Saturday afternoon, one of our favorite things to do was to go to Uncle Jeff's shop. As children, we would dress up because after you do your chores, then the next thing, you know, you had to have a little entertainment. So if we didn't get to go to Henry's Theater, not a lot of us got to go there because I grew up in a family of 4 boys and just me, 1 girl. So it's, as you can imagine, my mother was very, very extremely protective. So I didn't get to do things like that. But the rest of us, we would dress up on a Saturday afternoon after our chores were finished, and we would go to Uncle Jeff's shop and we would sit on his little fence there with our ice cream cone and a pack of cornets. We used to call Cheetos cornets back in those days. For some reason. And that was like a big treat to us, Sandra. And those years, I mean, you know, all the children hung out. We played hide and goal. If you go down to where Leo Park is, just a little bit beyond that, there was a big clear out spot by Glidden. We used to call it Glidden Square. And all the children used to get together there and we'd play a big game of hide and goal. We'd go to...
What's hide and goal?
Hide and seek.
I know about hide and seek, but I've never heard of it called hide and goal before.
That's what we used to call it back in those days. We used to call it hide and goal. Big play area, and all the children of the neighborhood would gather there. And basically, you know, we would have a lot of fun, but it was such clean fun. We would do things like spin the bottle. I don't know if you've ever heard of that game. Okay, we would spin the bottle, we'd play hide and goal. And we'd play marbles, and you know, a lot of us were I grew up with 4 brothers, as I told you, so I was a bit of a tomboy in many respects. Climb trees and go to my grandmother's yard to get neeseberries. I still to this day love my neeseberries. In fact, I love all Cayman fruits. So those are the kind of things we did. I especially liked Christmases growing up and all of our traditional things that we did, because as teenagers with no real entertainment, our entertainment was getting together with everybody else. So of course we couldn't wait for Christmas to come around, and it was like October time for us to go and get the gravels and the sand and backing them back and forth in the moonlight. That was a big thing for us as children, and you know, putting those baskets on your head and backing those with some of us had baskets, some of us had buckets. But those were the kind of things I grew up on, Sandra. And, you know, Cayman, as you know, were completely different in those days. Now, I mean, that wouldn't be attractive to a young person nowadays, but to us it was. So I'm just happy that I grew up during that time. I grew up I grew up in the church, as you well know. And I had a phenomenal grandmother, phenomenal. Her name was Teresa. And basically she was like a Mother Teresa in our neighborhood. I say that modestly, but anybody that lived in Northwest Mike will tell you that Aunt Teresa took care of it. Everybody called her Aunt Teresa. Took care of everybody in the neighborhood. Whatever she had, it would stretch. She would always make sure that the neighborhood children had something to eat, clothes to wear. And as a grandmother, because my mother was basically working 2 jobs to make ends meet, and then my father was at sea, so I was the one that was taking care, and then I was the eldest, taking care of my brothers. I like I told you, I was in the kitchen from very early. I did the cooking, I got them ready for school. We went to school, I came back and took care of them until my mama came home, stuff like that. So my grandmother's role was basically to assist me during that time in a very meaningful way, 2 or 3 trips a day from her house to my house to help me with laundry, help me with cooking, baking, anything that she could help me do. She did that to buffer the times when my mother wasn't there. You know?
So you had to grow up pretty quickly being the eldest and being a young lady in those days.
Yes, I grew up.
You know, there was a lot
of responsibility was on my shoulders. But, you know, it made me who I am today, you know, because with my mother and my grandmother, I give both of them, you know, a lot of accolades for my training and for my upbringing, because it made me a very responsible person, you know, from that early age. And then with my grandmother, it made me really know what it meant to give, Sandra. I grew up with her taking me on a Saturday afternoon, a lot of times to the shut-ins. And we would take things like heavy cakes and breads and stuff for them. And so that heart of giving just resonated. And I thought, well, that was the thing to do. You know, so
that was normal for you.
That was normal.
Because of the example she set.
And so because of that, I think I attribute a lot of my love for nonprofit, my love for helping people. I attribute most of those qualities to my grandmother and her upbringing.
Miss Teresa. Wow.
She was a phenomenal woman.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's so amazing.
Wonderful Christian woman, and taught me a lot of my values. So attribute that to her. And I remember, I don't remember the story, but I remember her and my mother both telling me that I started out so early in the kitchen, and my mother was always afraid that I would get burned because I was really little. And she said to my mother one day, Lyra, because my mother would say, no, you're too young, you're too young.
Right.
And she said to her one day, you are not going to tell her again that she's too young. If you have to put a bucket there for her to see what you're doing, you need to let her be involved in this process. You know, she'll soon be old enough, you know. And my mother said, you know, she took it serious. She said, you know, for my grandmother to chastise her so strongly. Yeah. You know, she thought, okay, this is not her, so this must be valid. And she said she started just letting me have a little stool so I could see what then she was doing, because I was so interested in the cooking. You know, so that's how like 9 and 10, I could make a full meal.
Wow. Now, you talked about your dad being away at sea. I mean, so many Caymanians have that memory of uncles and fathers being away, and really it was the women in the family who were responsible for the household and managing whatever money he might be sending back and that sort of thing. But what sort of childhood memories do you have of your dad?
One of the childhood memories I have of my dad was that it was always all of this excitement whenever he would come. Now, he wasn't one of those that were away for 3-4 years at a time. I know a lot of them were. Yes. But my dad seemed to make it home, I would want to say every year.
Okay.
You know, so it was all this excitement when he was coming home, because he was going to bring us all this stuff. And, you know, he was going to bring some things for the children in the neighborhood. So they were excited as well. But I remember the times that he was there. He was the person that would take us to look for the coconut plums and go to the beach. Of course, when he came, then my mother didn't drive. So when he came, we would have a car, you know. So he would take us for our Easter picnics and picnics on a whole, take us to get cocoa plums. It was then when he came home that we would get to go to the movies.
I see.
He would take us then to I don't know if you remember Thomas Theater.
No.
Thomas Theater, Berkeley Theater. Remember Mr. Berkeley Theater?
I've heard of that one.
Right close to where Monkeys, what's the your place, Waffle Monkeys. That area where Waffle Monkeys was Mr. Berkeley's theater. So he would take us there, and then we had one in West Bay called Mr. Henry's Theater.
Okay.
So in the early,
and these would have been drive-throughs back in those days.
Those two were theaters. The only drive-through we actually had was in Bodden Town.
Really?
Yeah, the Bodden Town drive-through. He used to take us there. So those are the kind of things that we would look forward to so much when he came, because that's the only time we got to do things like that. Take us to get mangoes all the way South Sound and up to Prospect and Spots. You know, those days it was not a lot of development, so it was all mango trees and plum trees and, you know, these trees. So, and then with my dad, one of the things I remember most about him was that in our growing up years, we didn't have to get a plumber, a carpenter, electrician, because he was everything. He was one of those type of men that could fix literal anything or make anything. So, you know, I got a shock of my life now when I'm thinking that this is how every man is. Yes. You learn that pretty quickly, that it's not everybody's like your dad, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
But I do have some pleasant memories of my dad, you know, growing up and the times that he would come home.
Yeah, that's amazing. So amazing. So tell us, we're going to switch a little bit now. This is your famous banana bread, and I see obviously you're making everything from scratch here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what is that now that you're putting into?
This is the banana. What I do a lot of times, I'll get the bananas and I'll mash them when they're on sale. Yes. And I mash them, put them in the freezer. So I thawed some out today. Okay. For these two batches that I'm going to make. So whenever
you want, you have your ripe bananas ready to go.
Yeah, I have my ripe bananas ready to go.
Okay. Nice. Very good. And back in those days, I know you didn't have no fancy mixer like KitchenAid. So you had to do everything by hand.
By hand. Later on, when I became a teenager and close in like my 20s or so, then we had that small hand one. But before, it was just the hand mix and everything.
Yeah, of course. And what were your, you know, most Caymanians will say they're either a baker or a cook. Like they either do one
or the
better
other.
or the other. You find very few people that enjoy and do both really, really well. Do you fall into any category? Like, what do you think you are, a baker or a cook?
I would say I love baking more, but I do both equally as well.
Okay.
Because I do the heavy cakes. I do all the Cayman stuff. The only Cayman food that I really don't like to do is turtle meat, and I haven't really mastered the custard top cornbread as yet. I've tried it, but I didn't like how it turned out. But everything else, the Wilks, the conchs, the soft beef and beans, all the other Cayman foods I do, the heavy cakes, you know. But I like, when it comes to baking, I love to bake. I love to bake.
You love to bake.
Actually, how I got into these banana breads was in 1985. We were planning a youth trip to Antigua, and Miss Claudia was our youth leader at that time. And she said, you know, we're going to do a bake sale. And everybody can get involved. And so we started going around to the different businesses. I remember one of mine was Maples and Calder at that time. And I baked all of these banana breads every week and delivered to Maples and Calder. They bought all of these banana breads and we made tons of money. And then I thought, well, that would be the end of it. But here, when I came back from the trip, a few weeks went by, and the people from Maples and Calder, the post office, and all the places that I'd been selling to, they said, so what happened now? No more banana bread just because you went to Antigua? So they actually they actually wouldn't let me get out of it. And so then I started baking on a consistent basis. And then that's what I was telling you, that my children actually got into it with me, because then they saw that, you know, they could make money out of it for their trips, you know, post office. And then of course, when I started CNB, you know, I always used to have to do about one per month to keep my customers happy, you know. So yeah. It's been a thing in my life for sure.
You know, you talked, Julie, about your grandmother and some of the things that she really instilled in you as a child and as a young adult. And one of the things you said, which I thought was so interesting, that she kind of reminded you of Mother Teresa. And so your faith, obviously, I think everyone knows that about you, that you are a faith-based individual. You're a strong Christian woman. So let's talk a little bit about how that came to be at such an early age. You would be going to church with your grandmother a lot as well?
Yes. My mother wouldn't let, actually, even though it was not too far down the road, Western Holiness Church is not far from my house, but like I say, I basically didn't go anywhere without my grandmother. So because there was nothing to do, I loved to go to church, because that's about the only place I'd get to go with my grandmother, right? And so from an early age, we went to youth meeting on Friday night, we went to night prayer meeting, and we went to Sunday. So we went to church 3 times a week, basically. And so I got into that, and then sometimes she would even take me to the meetings for the shut-ins. We used to call them the can't even remember what we used to call them back in the day. It was like the meetings that we have for the shut-in people that can't get out. You know, so maybe that was 4 times a week. So you know, you get into that pretty quickly. I mean, extensively, I would have to say, if you're going that often. And then, of course, then at an early age, I saw the evidence in my grandmother's life that it wasn't just talk, but it was a real walk of faith. And so it made me want what she had, and what I saw exhibited in her, it made me want to be that type of person. Because if you knew my grandmother, then you would understand. You would have had to know her to understand, you know? And so my mother, for instance, never became a Christian till very, very late in life. So you know, all of my Christian training, I attribute to my grandmother. Right. You know? And then when I went to school, because I'd gotten saved at an early age, then, you know, I found myself, you know, being one of the leaders in the Interschool Christian Fellowship. And back in those days, Brother Allison was one of the our teachers that were in charge of that. And then, so he encouraged me and my best friend, Julie, he encouraged us to continue, you know, in the faith and be responsible teenagers and get the other students together. So, you know, that's always been my passion and my guiding light, you would have to say, you know, throughout my life. And, you know, no apologies there. It's made me who I am today. And then, of course, I had a pastor called Sister Bowman back in the 60s and 70s. And at that time, there were not a lot of scholarships being given out. And so when at 16, and I was almost ready to finish high school, and she said, you know, I can get you into college. You know, we have this work program at a work. It's a small Bible college, but I was by extension into theology and everything at that time. So it was like almost like a transitional period. And so when she said that to me, I can get you into Bible college, I thought, well, I don't see another path right now of, you know, being able. So I took that opportunity. I left and she got it organized. I was a work student. I worked 4 hours a day for my education. I graduated from the Bible college with theology and English degree. Yeah, in the 70s, in 1977. I did it in 3.5 years, you know, because I was determined to graduate with my same class, even though I didn't start till January. So 1980, I got married.
So even your faith led you to opportunities in terms of your education?
My education.
Now, where was this school?
This was in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Cincinnati, Ohio.
So you were in Ohio for 3.5 years?
3.5 years.
What was that experience like?
Oh,
a little Cayman girl used to...
Sandra, you have no idea, especially with the snow and the cold. Now, that was my worst because I come in from the tropics. I had no idea what I was in for. So, like my friends, the Crofts, who were my pastors at that time, some of them were in the same college. And they said to me, the first night that we were there, oh, we're going skiing on the mountain. I'm saying, what? And I'm seeing them dressing in 4, 5, 6 bundles of clothes. And I'm saying, okay, but it can't be that bad. Wait, I have a big coat. I said, my coat is going to be fine. And they said, no, it's not going to be fine. But I just did not understand. You see, when I got up there, the only thing I could do is to stay in the car.
Oh, my goodness.
So I remember one day I was catching a bus to go downtown, and poor old me, being from the tropics, didn't realize that in that 40 below, the year I went was the worst winter in Ohio for 45 years.
Oh my gosh.
And that was my introduction to the winter.
Wow.
I was there waiting on the bus. Poor old me didn't realize that you should keep moving. So by the time the bus comes, and I'm getting ready to walk to the bus, I'm stuck. I'm frozen to the spot, Sandra.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
One of my worst experiences ever in Ohio. But apart from that, I've made some wonderful friends. You know, I never ever discount my time in Bible college. Never ever. You know, to this day, people say, well, why did you do that? It wasn't an accredited school. It gave me a basis. It gave me a foundation that I look back on, and I'm very, very thankful that I did that.
And you talked about you studied English. I think that's so interesting.
I did English and Bible. In fact, I taught for 1 year, but I soon figured out that wasn't really the field that I wanted to go into. So then I left. I did that for one, and then in 1981, then I went into the civil service. I worked for a little while, for a year with Miss Brindell, people like Miss Brindell Rivers and the late Miss Marva Jackman, who was then in charge of tourism department. So I was working in tourism with Mr. Bergstrom, the then director. And then I worked there for a year, and then I went in the legal field, I went to work at the courthouse, where then I went as an assistant clerk of the court, which I enjoyed tremendously. I was actually secretary to the judges, and so I would type all their notes. Mr. Hercules, Mr. Douglas, Kipling Douglas, I know you've heard of him.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so those are my two bosses, and Miss Ina Allen at the courthouse. So one of my main jobs there was in charge of the program that they had for. At that time, everything was just so manual. So when you paid in funds for your children, they had to come by the courthouse and pick everything up. So I was in charge of that program for the maintenance.
So that would be the maintenance orders and stuff like that when you have to maintain children. Okay. Interesting. Wow. All right. So what's going on with the banana bread now?
Okay. Yeah. We're stopping because we're talking. We're stopping because we're talking.
I don't want you to mess up that banana bread now. Not on account of me.
No. We're coming.
So we got to get that in the oven.
Yeah.
Yes, just speeding things up a little bit now, folks. So I see you're making a whole batch today. Where are they all going?
You know, I always get so many requests that I have to keep a waiting list. So I haven't gotten to do any during the season at all. I probably haven't done banana bread now since September or August last year.
Oh wow!
So in fact, I had some texts ask me, what time are you going to start back doing banana bread? So I'm definitely going to send one home with you.
Oh, nice.
And I have some customers that I'm just going to give some banana breads to today.
Yeah.
Just make them. Today's Love Your Neighbor Day.
Yes. Yeah. Wonderful. I love it. I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. So we're going to let her get that done. And then we're going to
pour them out, get them in the oven.
And how many, that batch is going to make how many?
6. So each batch makes 6 small or 4 large.
Okay.
So today I'm just doing the smalls.
Yes. All right. Nice. So you talk about your experience in the court. You had a brief experience there, and then we're gonna obviously most people know you, I think, from the bank, and so we'll talk about that here in a second as well. But it's so interesting because I always say that so many people who are involved in or who want to become a representative of the people, I think they should go work in the civil service first.
Yeah,
because
let me tell you something.
What you think
is
what it is a totally different situation.
Yeah.
And how you think it works is not how it works. So that is a lot of times I see people who are very unrealistic about what to expect when they get in there as an MP. It's such a learning curve. So it's so interesting that you have that experience. Even if it was that long ago, to me it doesn't matter because the fundamentals I doubt have ever changed. What's the secret to your banana bread, by the way? What is there, do you think there's any sort of secret ingredient or secret technique to it? Or
I think one of my secrets is the fact that I time them really right. I don't like anything dry.
Yes.
So I make sure I time it really right. And I put lots of extra love in there. I put lots of, I put more, any banana bread that I've ever seen is very minimal sugar and minimum oil. I put lots of oil, eggs, and sugar in my banana bread.
Yeah.
Flavoring, cinnamon. Not going to give you the recipe, but
no.
Yep. But I do have some specialties in there.
It looks good. It looks good. Look at that, folks. Wow. It's so nice and
I see.
Yeah.
The consistency is there.
The consistency is very nice. I'm just gonna say it's like creamy.
And normally I make them a couple of different ways because different people that I bake for like them different stuff. So I like my banana breads with nuts. Some like them with nuts, some like them with eggs, and some like them with nuts and raisins.
Yeah.
Today, because I didn't announce that I was doing it, I'm just going to make them plain today.
You're gonna make them plain today.
Yeah. So,
okay. Yeah. Nice. All right. So we're gonna follow Miss Julie over to the pans here.
All greased and ready to go.
They're pre-greased, and so she's gonna do. How many you got there? 5. And she's just gonna pour those in. Beautiful. Very nice. Nice. So before we continue talking about your career, I want to talk a little bit about you as a mother, because you've got how many kids? You have 3?
3.
You've got 3 kids. 1 girl as well?
No, I have 1 son.
You have 1 son
in the middle of my 2 daughters.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about you as a mom. Were you a very strict mom? What kind of mom were you?
I was a very strict mom.
I hear your son in the background clearing his throat.
Yes. I was a very strict mom. I had to be strict because my husband was not strict. You know, he let them, they went to him when they want to get away with things, and I wasn't having that. And because I was trying to raise my kids, I mean, my children were raised like me in church, so they always had to attend youth service, they had to attend junior church and all that. But apart from that, I knew the discipline that I'd had from my mother, and I knew how strict she was on me. So I was determined that I was going to raise my children like that as well. You know, and to this day, they will tell you they appreciated that. You know, so when they wanted to do things that they didn't think that they'd get to do, sometimes they'd sneak and ask their dad, but that would cause a little contention. But normally, I was the one that was the disciplinarian.
Yep. Yeah, so you said, you know what, this style of parenting worked for you. You were going to just continue with it.
Exactly. I saw that it worked for me, and I saw that basically I turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
And so I was gonna use that same style on my kids.
Yeah.
They got disciplined. They had chores every week. Every one of them had chores. They all knew the schedule. Whose night it was to do the dishes. Whose night who was doing what. Who was raking the yard. You know, they all had their chores.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, don't talk about the banana bread, because that was a time and everybody worked. Everybody had to work.
And you know, you also talk about because of how you grew up. Now, why don't you put any at the bottom? I noticed you don't put any at the bottom.
It doesn't bake quite as well. When I'm baking a lot, I have to use the bottom of it. But I'm just doing this little bit.
You put them all on the top.
On top, yeah. They bake better up top.
Okay, nice. So you talked about how you were as the eldest, there was more responsibility on you, and also being a girl. Do you think you also have an eldest girl? Do you think that you were also very strict with her in terms of, you know, leading by example, and she had responsibility with the other kids? Or do you think in that way you probably gave her a little bit more leeway than you would have had as a child?
I don't think I was ever as strict on my kids as my mother was on me. No. And then by the time Tasha is 3 years older than Clint, so by the time Clint came around, Tasha was 3. She would be, you know, go and get the diapers for me. She had those kind of things to do. But as far as you know, it wasn't until they got older that, you know, they could take up more responsibility. But I always trained them from early to be responsible. Just like she helped her brother. I remember when I just thought I was finished at 2. When I had Tasha, I wanted a girl. I got a girl. When I had Clint, I wanted a boy. So I'm saying, oh, I got my pair. That's it. So in my mind, I'm done. But 7 years later, 10 years later, actually, one of my friends had another child, and Tasha would come home every day. I don't see why so-and-so have a baby sister, why I can't get a baby sister. And that went on for a year. Oh my goodness. Consistently. She kept saying, Mommy, you won't have to do anything for that baby. I'm going to take care of that baby. This time, though, she was 10. I finally broke down and had another child. It was a little girl. And she kept her word. Let me tell you, as a 10-year-old, I couldn't have asked for a more responsible child. She literally took care of Shanda. I mean, she shadowed her. I mean, everything she did for that little child. So they were all responsible.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
That's so amazing. So interesting. So she wanted a little baby to have for herself?
For herself. And she took care of her. She took care of her.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So I noticed that you, and I gotta tell you, this is interesting because I make a mess when I'm in the kitchen. Marlon is always telling me off that I gotta use a spoon for every little thing, and the kitchen's like a tornado came through, but your kitchen looks very neat and clean, although you're in here baking and doing the most. So you like to clean up as you go.
I try to clean up as I go.
Yeah.
Especially on a Sunday afternoon. Oh my goodness, I don't want to have to come back out and do this later.
Yeah.
So I try to clean up as I go.
Nice. Beautiful. All right, so we got these. Now, do you let them cool for a certain amount of time?
So now what I'm gonna do, I have them all cooled now and buttered. So I'm going to just empty them out so they can cool now, and then before I put them in bags. So I don't like them to sit in here because I don't like them to sweat. If you keep them in here, they sweat too much, I feel, and they get more too soggy on the bottom. So I like to make them. Yeah. So I actually like to just put them and let them on.
Okay, I'm getting some tips here today, folks.
Yeah, because you know that's quite soft. So if I let that sit any longer, it would to me get too soggy. Mushy. Yeah.
Nice. All right, beautiful. Look at this, folks. At the same time, you're getting some baking tips, you know. So you got to take it while you can. Oh, they look beautiful, and they didn't stick to the pan.
No, they're well greased.
Yeah.
I like to spray mine actually. I don't use butter. I like to spray mine with palm spray.
Yep.
They come out much better.
Nice. Yeah, they look perfect. Beautiful. So let's talk about your career then at the bank. How did you get into banking?
Actually, after I left the civil service, I went to work for a Class B Class B bank. You're. I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Frank Valderramas, Mr. Booth.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he was my boss at that time.
Yeah.
And I worked at. Have you ever heard of Dexter Bank?
Dexter, yeah.
Yeah. Well, McDonald Myers and Alberga at that time is what the law firm was called. They had a Class B bank called Dexter Bank, and I was working there, but I wasn't really happy there.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Frank left, Frank, he left and he went to work for Cayman National, but he knew that I wasn't happy at Dexter.
Mm-hmm.
And so one day he called me and he said, I have a job interview set up for you.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, okay, this is amazing, you know? And so I went to the job interview. That time it was Mr. Andre Eiton that was in charge of loans department. He was the senior vice president there, and went to the job interview and got the job first off, and the rest is history. At that time, and I started in 1988, I was Andre's assistant.
Okay.
Yeah, so he basically his secretary.
Right.
But I wasn't there very long before he moved me to being a loan officer.
Oh, wow.
Which I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved my 10 years as a loan officer. You know, you were able to help so many people. You were able to see people at where they were. I was telling someone in the supermarket yesterday, Sandra, I went through a time when having to counsel people was one of my main jobs on the job, you would have to say, because a lot of people would come into and they would want a loan, but then they would come with 6 credit cards, you know, and I always tried never to decline a person.
Right.
I declined the situation, I declined the application, but I would always take the time to counsel them and say, you know, I can't help you in this present, but let's hear what I can do. I can help you get these 6 cards put into one, amalgamated into one payment.
Right.
And if you pay this off in the 6 months, I can help you now with that mortgage, because you're only going to have one payment plus your mortgage. But if I do this now, you're going to lose a home.
Yes.
You know? So those kind of conversations, and for that 10 years, me working in the loan department really helped me to be able to, again, help people and show people that I had their interests at heart. You know, till this day, my children and my husband say, Mommy, we can't stand going out with you because everybody can stop you. You know, Miss Julie, remember this. You remember when you helped us with our loan. You remember when you were working at CNB. Boy, we felt bad when you left that loan department. You know, these are the kind of comments I hear all the time. And so consequently, they don't like to go out with me because I have to listen to all of this and they have to say, oh, we're in a hurry. You know, we don't want to hear this all the time. You know, but Sunday was one of the most fulfilling times for me in my career. I would say the other part of my career, and the only reason I left loans actually was, do you remember Mr. Crutchley, Mr. Eric Crutchley? You remember when he was the CEO of Cayman National, right after Mr. Tompkins, before Mr. Dack?
I would have been in the States, so this would have been before I came back, I'm sure. What year was that?
Okay,
probably?
okay, you might have been in the States, yeah. But I remember he came from Barclays. And I remember the first day when he came around, and after his introduction stuff, he came down the next morning and he said to me, he said, how long have you worked at the bank? And I said, 10 years. He said, so what all departments have you been in? And I said, I've been in loans. And he said, only loans? And I'll never forget that, because he said, oh, no, this is not good enough. He said, we have to get you more experience than just loans. He said, you need to branch out now in other areas now that you have loans, you know. Experience. And so actually it was through him that I started going into branch banking. You know, so then I went to be Miss Lavisa's assistant, and then she was in charge of the branches. And at that time, I remember one day she came to me and said, Juju, I need a branch manager. You've been working with me long enough now, and you know the ropes. I need a branch manager, and I'm going to send you over to the Merco branch. And I panicked, and I said, because I'd never done branch banking before.
There was a branch in Merco? When was that?
There was a branch at Merco, 1998.
Wow, I would have been back then, but I don't remember that.
Yeah, so she sent me over to manage the Merco branch. And she said, no, you can do this. You got this. And so I went, and, you know, it was almost like baptism by fire, but I made it through that period and went into then a long period, 15 years of doing the branches, you know, from Cayman Brack to all the branches. I remember, me opening the Centennial branch in 2003.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was one of my. That's my baby. Till this day, that's my baby.
Yeah.
The Centennial branch is my baby.
I was the first tenant in the building to open, probably right along with Subway, because Subway was obviously owned by the Burks.
Yeah.
So I was in there working hard. I remember when CNB opened downstairs, and
you would come down and do your deposits.
It was so convenient to have it right there.
Right there. And you remember when we were even doing the 7 o'clock shift? So you could come early or late. We would open till 6, you know? And I remember it was just you, Subway, picture this. I think it was just like 4 anchor tenants and the bank.
Yeah.
And so we're all just like little close-knit family at that time. I don't know. I know you remember those days fondly, Sandra.
It was nice to be able to just pump in and out downstairs and do my little deposits and say hi to everyone. And
and everybody knew you. Everybody, but we knew all the tenants and everybody. And we just kind of took care of those tenants like they were our own, you know.
Yeah.
But those were really, really good days, you know, when I was in branch management. One of the things that I appreciate, I told you a little bit about loans. One of the things I appreciated about my years in branch banking was the fact that I was able to mentor my young people. I was able to cross-train them. And to this day, they will tell you that, you know, it's because of their cross-training. My cross-training. I had a cross-training program where I would put them in different areas within my Merco branch, because that was one of the main branches that I was at for a while, that I managed for a while. Within my Merco branch, if you were a cashier, then you went to customer service. If you were in charge of customer service, then you went to be in charge of treasury, so that you got all of those, all that training within the branch. So then you could do anything in any branch.
Yes.
You know, and a lot of them did not have that in the other branches. So when they were transferred and go take somebody's place because of a sick day, they were like, oh, I don't know how to do this. But if you came from the Buckingham branch, you know everything. And so when it was time for promotions, they were able to get the best promotions. I remember one year I had like 6 or 8 promotions just in my Buckingham branch. You know, so those are the kind of things that I look back on and I'm most proud of in my career. You know?
So how long in total were you at CNB?
35 years.
Wow.
Yeah, because I left in 2020.
That was the retirement. But then they keep pulling you back every time you leave.
Then 18 months later, they sent me an email one day and said, are you interested in coming back? So then I came back for 2.5 years, and it wasn't until September 2024, after I decided to run for member of parliament, that I said, you know, this is a good time now to not renew my contract, since I need some extra time to campaign. Yeah, but you know, I went to credit cards for a while, and I did the PCI program there. You know, basically helping our merchants. You know,
become compliant with the PCI requirements.
Yes, all the PCI requirements. And then I spent some time in compliance, you know, after we got our CAMs. So you know, it's been a wonderful career, I would have to say.
Let's talk a little bit about your education, because you talk about CAMs. Did you actually do the CAMs program? So for our listeners who may not know what that is, that's like the gold standard for compliance.
For compliance, and the anti-money laundering. Yes, it stands for certified anti-money laundering specialist.
Yes, So you did that.
I did that. That was in 2012. And then 2000. So I did my banking degree in 2002. My Institute of Canadian Banking degree. Did that in 2002. And then 2012, I did the CAMs. Yes, I passed that and got my certification. And then in 2017, I did the PCIP. That was excellent experience as well, because then I got to travel so much because of that. Got to go to all the conferences because you had to keep our skills up. So every year we would go to the PCI conferences, you know, to all the new technology coming out, to keep up with that. Because of course we had so many merchants that we needed to keep them up to date.
Right.
You know, so.
Well, it's good to hear that you are also an educated woman. Because that, you know, that's one of my big pet peeves that I advocate for young people, to lifelong learning. You know, you never know where life is going to take you. So whether it's on the job, cross learning within departments, as you said, you were, you know, encouraging your staff to do, as well as for yourself.
Oh, Sandra, I believe in lifelong learning. Up until 2018, we offered a phenomenal leadership course again. And that had so many modules in that. I even said to Phil, I said, well, I'm going to be retiring in 2 years. Do you think the bank would approve of me taking the course, since, you know, I'm only going to be here for another 2 years, you know, and it takes 6 months to do the course? And he said, of course, Miss Julie, whatever you're interested in, we will facilitate. And so I did the leadership course in 2018 and passed that. And that again, you know, was another really good experience for me, you know, going back. Because it's like you say, it keeps your skills and your knowledge up. And we can never have too much learning and too much knowledge, you know. And each time I do something, it takes you in another, it gives you more opportunities. And to me, all of it was different. It's all connected, but it's all different avenues.
Right.
You know?
Fascinating. Am I gonna get to taste that banana bread?
Yes.
I'm kind of curious.
Yes. Let's cut that.
All right. So I'm so tickled pink that I get some of this this
Hot
banana
bread, hot off the press.
Yes, honey Chad. Look at that, folks. Eat your hearts out. That's all mine. Oh, this looks amazing. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna tell y'all how it tastes, you know. Oh, nice and moist. Very good. I love it. It's nice. Yeah, perfect consistency. Nice and moist. Very good. So while I enjoy my banana bread, we'll continue chatting with Miss Julie here. You just checking on those other ones I see in the oven?
Yes.
Did you put a timer on, or you manually?
I got the timer on.
All right. You don't want to burn them up on account of me now, you know.
But sometimes when it gets really hot, like I've done a couple of batches today, then I always want to check it because to do the temperature down a little bit, you know.
Yeah. Yep. So, Miss Julie, you talked about, you know, professionally, your mentoring, but I want to talk about, because you're actually quite well known for doing a lot in the community. So I do want to talk about some of the other things that you've really been involved in. Obviously, you're very active in your church life and the ministry and you know, all the elements of your church. But you've taken it beyond those two primary areas.
Oh, yes.
So not just mentoring co-workers and your subordinates, ensure that they're getting promotions at work, they're upskilling themselves. I know you would have been advocating for them to prioritize their own education within banking and so on as well. But tell us, what have you done in terms of community work?
Okay, so my community work, I would say, Sandra, started as a teenager. Coming out of the church, right? I did a lot of work with the youth, you know, so I would help with the Bonaventure, boys at risk. At that time, we would pick them up and do things with them, and, you know, make sure we mentored them. We would take clothes for them. We would take food for them. So we had a relationship with them at one stage where, you know, I was doing a lot with the Bonaventure boys at risk youth, right? That kind of branched off into other things like the Pines. Like we would do once a month, we would do services at the Pines once a month. We would do visitations. You know, there's a lot of people at the Pines that their relatives never see them. Wow. And so we would take it on ourselves to go and sing for them, pray with them, take them. A lot of times we took them on gift baskets, because if they don't visit them, then a lot of times they need a night dress, they need a little pair of slippers, they needed little things that we could provide. You know, so we would do things like that. And then after I started the nonprofit in 2007 and got that up and running, in 2012, we found that we were doing a lot of community.
So back up, because a lot of people don't know anything about your nonprofit.
Okay.
So tell us about this nonprofit. What's it called?
Okay, so the nonprofit is called Circle of Love Women's Ministries.
Okay.
We started out doing just women, and then it kind of morphed into everything, you know, because then, you know, we found that there's a lot of at-risk youth and a lot of needs within our children. So the nonprofit started in 2007. Basically, a friend of mine, Judy, you would know Judy Faye, we went to a conference, and then we were so energized by that conference. We both came back and we said, you know, we can't can't just go back to normal life. We want to do something more within our community.
Right.
And we came up with the idea that we would start a women's ministry, which would kind of operate a breakfast once a month where we could do monthly segments, like we would do health seminars, we could do marriage seminars, we did grief seminars. So it was different things that we saw within the community that we needed to host. So we would host those different breakfasts and different meetings like that. And then we would also give. We did a lot of giving. Like we would give gift certificates. We would help with your CUC bill. We would help with if you needed a pair of glasses, if your children needed uniforms, you know, whatever little needs that we could help with. Because remember, now this was all being funded primarily through the members of our nonprofit. Those of us that had a burden for the community and wanted to do something would pool our funds together, and we would say, okay, I'll give you know, 100, 200 to this need. And so until we could get our account started and we had some funds. And then others then started to fund it as they saw that what we were doing within the community. And then in 2012, then we expanded it to work then with the Department of Children and Family Services. Because then what happened then is we took over their 2 premier events and basically ran with them, which is their Child Month breakfast and their seniors event. So when I say took over, I meant that we helped them, right? We didn't take over the whole month, but their 2 premier events we ran with. So every year from 2012, we've done a big children's breakfast where we have a huge breakfast for the children. We have them come, we do all their talent, we put on the essay competition. So it's a element of them getting together with their peers, highlighting them, but also an educational element to it. So, you know, they win prizes for the best essays and so on and so forth. Oh, nice. So beautiful morning. Their teachers, parents. This last time we had 350 to the breakfast. So
that's the one for the kids or for the
kids.
For the
kids.
Nice.
Yeah. This last breakfast, we had to move it from the Marriott to the Mary Miller Hall because it got too huge for the Marriott. So now we have it every year at the Mary Miller Hall, and then for the seniors, now we do the seniors month. We do the annual seniors brunch at the CCC Hall, and usually that's right around 200, 250 of the seniors, and that's all over the island. So apart from that, the nonprofit, you know, has done those types of things and those types of programs. But I think I'm even more. What's the word I'm looking for? Even more encouraged, or I like the fact that we are able to help individual people do things that other bigger nonprofits might not see the need to do. I think that's where we come in. You know, we don't have the funds like ARC or Rotary or those, but we can do small things, you know, and every little small act counts. Every little act of service helps someone.
Absolutely.
You know? So, Sandra, I don't have any regrets, I would say, of anything that we've ever done in our life. I think it's all been stepping stones for this next platform that I am about to embark on. And I think it's all been a preparation for me, you know?
Yeah, I have a saying that I picked up many, many years ago. I think some of my listeners have heard how I came to this sort of realization, because I was doing some acupuncture. And the guy said to me, I was rushing. I was like, oh, I've got to get to the airport because I might miss my flight. And, you know, always on the go, go, go. And he said to me, just calm down, calm your energy down, because you're right where you're supposed to be. And he said, even if you miss that flight, you're right where you're supposed to be. And I was like, oh.
That was food for thought, right? That was a lot of food for thought.
It was just a phrase, but it was such a calming phrase. And sometimes when things are not going maybe how we want it to in life, as we think we have it all planned out, you know, I just now stop and pause and say, you're right where you're supposed to be. There's a lesson in it. There is, you know, whatever, but you're right where you're supposed to be. So you don't even question anymore. So all the things that you go through in life, the trials, the tribulations, the ups and downs, get you to where you are, you know, and you're right where you're supposed to be.
Exactly.
So
I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm a firm believer in that whatever happens in your life, it was meant to be, and also that it had to cross his desk. I always tell people that it had to get his approval. So there's a lesson in it for me. There's something he wants me to learn in this period, and there's something that I can maybe give to someone during this period. And all of our life lessons are not necessarily always for us. They're for others as well. Most times they're for us to help others through their situations, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Miss Julie, how do you mind me asking? This is a question that you don't normally ask ladies. How old are you?
I am 65.
Because you come across so young and so youthful.
Everybody says that.
Yeah, I was curious about that. So there might be some people thinking 65, she's already retired. Why doesn't she just go sit down and bake more cakes? Or, how do you respond to people when they think that you don't have a contribution to make in the political arena because of your age? What's your response to that? What do you think about that?
Well, I think of people like Nancy Pelosi. I mean, she was 80 big odd when she left politics, and was very much still a part of that democratic system, and she was in charge basically, and without her, I think she's one of the main driving forces. So if she could do it, and look at President the one that just left,
Carter. Oh no,
President Biden,
in terms of his
age.
But even President Carter, I mean, look at how long he was making contributions.
Look at how long he gave and gave. I mean, it wasn't really until last year that he really stopped. I mean, look at what he did for Habitat for Humanity. Look at how much he still put into that. Up until 2 years ago, he was still helping to build.
90s,
So for those people that say, I don't have anything to offer, you need to look around the world. You need to look at other leaders and what they're contributing still, and how much they have to offer. And I think if I was a person that was just sitting down and waiting for something to do, then they might have a point. But I have never been that type of person. I am always on the go. I am very healthy, very energetic. I try to take care of my health. I go walking at least 3 to 4 times a week. I concentrate on my health because I know that's health is wealth. Sort of thing. And I've always believed in the old adage that prevention is better than cure. So I just feel like what has happened so far has just been a launching pad and a preparation for this, and that I have now the tools and the experience to equip me for this next 4 years.
Yeah. Now I know that you like to travel. A little birdie told me that.
Oh yes, that is
that's one of your favorite hobbies, I guess.
My first love, one of my first loves.
Yes,
I love it.
And so you've been all over the world. So let's talk about that, because undoubtedly you've seen a lot, and I'm sure a lot of what you have seen has helped you formulate some thoughts about even ideas for our own country, and things that we can do or things that we don't want to happen to our small little country. Tell us some of the countries that you've been to, give us a little short list of where you've been.
Okay, so I've been to Australia, I've been to New Zealand, I've done Switzerland, I have several places in Switzerland, I've done Austria, we've done Germany, several places in Germany, we've done South Africa, we have done, help me out here.
Did you Asia at all? China?
We did Egypt.
Okay.
Where else? I think one of my greatest experiences, because as you know, I am one that is big on culture.
Yeah,
I love my culture. And when we went to South Africa in October, and when I saw the display of their culture and how that was on display at all times, it made me realize how much more we have to do here to keep our culture alive. Sandra is dying out, and that's one of my pet peeves,
Yeah.
So it was on display.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, it was on display at all times. We've been to Poland. We've been to Auschwitz. I've done a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
I've done 13 cruises alone.
Wow. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. That sounds amazing. Now, you were also recognized on a National Heroes event for your dedication. I know that it was a Pioneer News Services back in 2013.
2013, yeah. That was a lot of, had to do with the work that I was doing in the church at that time, and the Bonaventure, and, the youth services. I did a lot of work, around that, and I was recognized for that. That was a long time ago. They had that one at the Marriott Hotel. Never forget that. That was when it wasn't as big as what it is now. But
and then you were recognized again in 2023 for your dedication to volunteerism.
To volunteerism, yes.
So,
I think that was mainly because of all the work that I've done with the nonprofit since 2007.
Yeah.
You know, and other volunteer. Remember, I did the soup kitchen. You know, I've done, you know, junior church. I've done treasury. I was the treasurer for the church for 7 years. You know, so I've done a lot of community work and a lot of church work and a lot of and it's all been volunteer. Everything has been volunteer.
Yes.
You know, I never one day got paid from the church or for anything that I've ever done. You know,
That's beautiful. So we've had such an amazing conversation here, and I know that Ms. Julie, there would be so much that you probably, in terms of your volunteerism, that you haven't thought of to say during this interview. But I know, for example, you used to do something with Christmas baskets. Tell us a little bit about that, because I wanted to hear more about that.
Oh, okay. That was when we used to do the Christmas baskets for the seniors. We made sure that all the seniors within our sphere, all those that we knew, would always have a Christmas basket from us. We would put things like groceries, we would put things like little night dresses, we would put things like bed slippers. We would do some of those same baskets for the people in the female prison. We would make sure they all had baskets for Christmas. Then we would do, a lot of times we would do gifts for the inmates' children. You know, those are little things that we did at Christmas time.
Beautiful. So Mother Teresa, that grandmother of yours, she really impacted
my life.
Your
I will
life.
always be grateful to have been raised up with my grandmother.
Yeah,
you know,
so amazing.
It's her impact on my life. It was definitely indelible, long lasting, and helped to shape my life in a way that none other.
So wonderful.
And she lived, you know, to be almost 102.
Wow.
She would have been 102 in April, and she died the December before. So 4 more months, she would have been 102. So she lived a long life, was honored by the Queen, you know, at her 100th birthday and all of that. So
yeah, what a blessing. That's so amazing. Well, we're going to continue to get to know you on your political walk. Obviously, you're scheduled to come on the show, so we'll get to talk to you about those types of things. But, you know, these candidate feature interviews really are about to getting to know you
as a person.
The volunteerism, the mother, the grandmother.
Oh, we didn't talk about my grandkids.
I know.
Do we have time?
Yes.
I have we have 3 amazing grandkids. How could I not have talked about my grandkids? Okay, so my granddaughter just started university in the UK in August last year. So she's actually away now. But she is a phenomenal girl. Her name is Janae. And I love her. So my oldest daughter has 2 daughters, and then my youngest daughter have a son. I'm still waiting on Clint. No pressure. I keep telling him by the time he give me a grandchild, I'm going to be walking with the cane. I can't help. Yeah. But anyway, we're waiting on him. So Liam actually is not here right now. He is studying in the UK. So my only grandson, but I have 3 beautiful grandkids. They all are different, but they all are lovely, and I love them all. Smart, beautiful grandkids. And I don't know how I could have forgot them and left them until the last, because they definitely changed my life, Sandra.
Yes.
You when you get grandkids, your life circles around these grandchildren.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a beautiful thing, because you look back and what you're able to do for your grandchildren now, you couldn't do for your own children. Things are so much different now in the world and in your finances and everything than when you were raising yours. So it's almost like you get a second chance. You know, you get a second chance to do for them what sometimes you wish you could have done for your own children.
Absolutely. And you have such a beautiful home here. It's absolutely lovely. I must tell you, you know, your kitchen is gorgeous, and I can tell that you're a person who takes pride in
my kitchen.
Your surroundings.
To have everything in place in my kitchen, because this is where I spend a lot of my time. Yes.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for inviting me, and by extension our listeners, into your home, into your kitchen. And I wish they could all have tasted your banana bread, but they have to wait because I'm taking mine with me. And I don't think I'll be sharing with anybody. Sorry, folks. But thank you so much for inviting us in and to get a little bit of a glimpse. I see those other ones are ready to come out of the oven as well. So look at that, folks. Oh, and in here smells like a bakery shop, I can tell you.
Yes.
Smells so amazing.
I'm actually going to put them on for another 10 minutes.
All right.
Yeah.
So she did the eye check, and they need to go for a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
So
but thank you. I just want to thank you for you taking the time on a Sunday afternoon.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
know sometimes we want to take those afternoon naps, but political season is busy. So
Yes.
we got to use every opportunity. And I just want to let the listeners know as well that, I was just happy to be able to talk to you today so they could get to know a little bit more about me.
Absolutely.
In a more informal setting, in a setting that I love, because this is me, and to let them know a little bit more about me, because I was surprised there's a lot of people, I thought I was well known from being in banking for 35 years, but actually there's a lot of people that doesn't know me.
Yeah.
So they would get to know me a little bit better. And as we go along through the season, they will get to know me better. I just want to invite them to continue to keep tuned in, especially my West Bay West.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep tuned in to my meetings and all the things online and my social media so that they can keep up to date with what's happening in the journey, and to invite all of them to be a part of the journey. Because if we want change, then we have to make that change happen, Sandra.
Absolutely.
And come April the 30th, the future is in all of our hands. And we all have to take responsibility for how we vote on April the 30th. If we want to see a different Cayman, then we have to make that happen personally. And a lot of people think that people know who you vote for. I want to let you all know as listeners, nobody will know who you vote for. Stop being afraid of Big Papa. He cannot help you. He cannot hurt you.
Yes.
Do
the right thing.
Do the right thing. This thing about my mama's benefits are going to be taken away, or my seaman's benefits are going to stop.
No way.
All of that,
We would not allow that to happen.
We have to get all that out of our head. That's never ever going to happen because of who you vote for. So let's get that out in the open. These are the kind of things that are being said out there. So blessed Sunday afternoon to all of you.
Yes.
I love you, Cayman. And I just look forward to being your next member of parliament.
Thank you so much, Julie Hunter. West Bay West, honey child. Make it happen, folks. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.